At the meeting. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the November meeting of the Waikiki Neighborhood Board. Mr. Senator is unable to be with us tonight. Jeff, I see you made it. Thank you. First of all, congratulations to our Senator Moriwaki and Representative Tam on their reelection. And a big mahalo to board members Anderson and Diabs for their great effort to give us a choice in this election. Thank you very much for your efforts. I can assume that everybody read the Office of Information Practice message about how we're to do our meetings. I wrote a lot, but basically, I'm supposed to take questions from the audience and not from the board unless somebody in the audience asks something that the board members want a response to. I think that's how that works. Also, the NCO has asked me to provide our agendas at least 2 business days prior to them actually going into effect. So that we'll be doing that in the future. Okay, city reports, Honolulu Fire Department. Do we have a fireman here yet? I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, go ahead. I forgot.
As you know, November is the month of Thanksgiving. And as you see, the people up front who are officers are wearing lei. That is for their service and work. Bob has been a member of this board for 23 years. Lou, I don't know how many years you have been. But I think that all of us on the board are grateful for the service. And tonight, we're also going to acknowledge the people who come spend their evenings with us, are patient through waiting for us, and we will acknowledge them with a small gift on behalf of the board. And I'm thankful for all the people in the audience that come and listen and participate.
Thank you, Catherine. I don't see the fire department, police department. Your report, sir?
Hi, good evening, friends. How's everybody doing? Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. My name is Lieutenant Steve Q. I'm the Night Watch Commander. I've been with you on the last couple of meetings. Just to kind of set the tone and direction, myself and Lieutenant Cyrus, who handles daytime operations, we're going to answer all your questions and give you stats. But before we do that, I wanted to introduce you to the new commander of Waikiki. I know that I spoke about him last meeting, but he made time in his schedule to come here and speak with you. The new commander for District 6 Waikiki is Major Braden Ogata. He's going to speak to you folks, and then he has another obligation to attend to, and then myself and Lieutenant Cyrus will stay here for as long as needed to answer questions, and we can have some fellowship together. With that, I'd like to introduce Major Braden Ogata.
Thank you so much, everybody. Am I okay there? Sorry, touch your mic here. But hey, hello. So it's good to see some familiar faces. I've been in Waikiki now, been assigned here for going on about 2 months. So I wanted to come on and say hello to you all, also to thank you. This board in particular is very active. We have a few community members also that really do a lot to help the police understand what they're seeing on in the community. And that allows us to understand better where we need to work on and how we can help out. So thank you all, and just want to introduce myself and thank you.
Okay, so Lieutenant Cyrus passed this out, I know, to board members and maybe some people in the audience. Also, too, I know last meeting, some individuals had asked if they could find out what some arrest stats were based upon some offenses. So when we go through this together, there is going to be some arrest stats to go with the other information that was provided. So if we look at the top category, robbery, previous month there was 4, this month 12. So there was an increase there. Burglaries this month 8, previous was 7. Thefts, we had 190. Previous was 163. UEMVs, which is when people, when you have your car broken into, there was 13 of those, 9 previously. Assaults, 57. Previous was 39. Sex crimes, this month 3, last month 2. Speeding citations given, 41. The previous month was 36. Parking citations given was 1,526. Previous month was 2,277. Loud muffler prohibited noise. This month we did give 1 citation for that. Park closure, we gave 90 citations this month, and we did 11 arrests. Previous was 76 citations and 10 arrests. Total calls for service was up this month. We had 4,649 calls for service. Previous month was 3,122. And then obviously with that, we're happy to take questions or have discussion. Sir.
Jeff, I have to wait for the people. Anybody from the audience with a question? Tommy, please use the microphone on this corner.
Thank you. Lieutenant Steve, now are you the night watch lieutenant that lives in Waikiki?
I am.
Could you tell me, are you in the police district, area 1 or area 2?
Sure. So I'm in sector 1, and without broadcasting my exact address to the world,
That's
I'm in
okay.
sector 1.
That's okay, because it kind of leads to my question. You know, I live in sector 1 too. I live at Canterbury Place, which is right on Enna Road in Ala Moana, catty corner from the Hawaiian Hilton, directly across Enna Road from the Wailana. Now, we have good sidewalks, especially along Ala Moana Road and coming down Kalakaua. And there are a tremendous amount of skateboarders, bicyclists, and the motorized skateboards, the motorized electric bicycles. And I've never seen, honestly, and I've been here since 2005 in that location, never seen a police officer pull anybody over. Yet I know during the statistics, you will say, oh, well, we got 4 bicycles or whatever, and I'm sure it's just outside the door of the substation. So I guess I want to make this statement and then also offer the suggestion that if we could get bicycle patrol or, and I know this doesn't go great with the police officers, but foot patrol along Ala Moana at different times of the day and night, they issue tickets to the people that are the offenders. I mean, I've been very close to being hit by especially the electric bikes now. But the other ones are just as, you know, they'll come. I'm kind of hard of hearing. I've got hearing aids and I can't hear them coming when they come up behind me. So, and I'm not the only old guy that lives in that area, right? So that's one. Now, I would also like to ask about the noise. If you live in that area, you have to hear the noise like we do, either that or you're in like the penthouse and it's sealed. But there's a lot of noise along at least Ala Moana. And as I walk my dog and stuff around Kalakaua, very loud. The motorcycles, and I know last month people talk to you about the wheelies and all that jazz, and it's still going on. But I just don't understand. I mean, I understand we're short of police officers. But what conflicts me is that when, take for an example, the Inn on the Park, which is right next to Canterbury Place where I live, there may be a domestic dispute and 8 cars will show up. Now, so I recall last month you said, well, we got about 10 to 14, somewhere in there. And if that big chunk of police are coming to one domestic dispute, or for instance, over in Kalia Apartments, you know, some woman had a health issue and the ambulance showed up, and then a bunch of cars. So I don't understand how we can be so short of police officers when I see these big gatherings. and no tickets, it takes my faith away from the police department being able to do a good job. And I prescribe to, I was in safety and occupational health for many years. You get after the small things, and that kind of helps take care of the big things. So that's kind of what I got to say. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for coming and sharing those concerns. Sidewalks are not meant for skateboarders or bicycles. Waikiki is not one of those areas that allows for either of those on the sidewalk. I don't want to make any excuses to you if you have an opinion that we're not doing enough enforcement activities regarding those things. That's something that myself and the other lieutenants can definitely take a look at. And when you talk about staffing and we talk about response, and I say this very delicately, in our world, as far as what is not serious and what is serious, if we get a call about a domestic violence call, that is a criminal offense. There is going to be a more aggressive response to a call like that, rather than, let's say, doing enforcement for bicycles on the sidewalk. We can certainly navigate that, but because you had a two-part question and I want to make sure I touch on both. For the skateboards and the pedal bikes, we can certainly look at areas of opportunity for improvement. Clearly, it's a concern for you. It's probably a concern for others. You shared very candidly that you are hard of hearing, that you're older, and I agree with you. There's no place for bikes or skateboards on a sidewalk. And I can tell you on night watch, that has not been a priority for me up until this point. I have not given any directives to my team to issue tickets for bicycles on sidewalks. I just want to be very candid with you. But since you're bringing that up, that is certainly something that we can take a look at. And the day watch lieutenant, Cyrus Anuna, we can come together and maybe we can put some special enforcement. With that said, segueing to the calls for service with the response, please understand, team, that friends, that there are certain calls that are going to justify at least one entire sector going, which could be as much as 4 police officers. And whether that's a traffic stop or whether it's a motor vehicle collision or something at that point. So I would simply ask that you don't lose faith in the police department, and I don't want to minimize your concern. We can do a better job at doing enforcement for bicycles and skateboarders on the sidewalk. We just have to navigate that with some of the other calls for service that we get on a daily basis. But I hear your concern, and give us a little bit of time to see if we can't put something together, and then we can circle back and I can let you know. Does that sound fair enough to you? Okay. Thank you again for being here, and thanks for your question.
Other questions from the audience, please? We're complying with that OIP thing. Oh, yes, please do that. Yes. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Amy Ammon from Waikiki. I agree entirely. Foot patrol, bicycle patrol, there is a lack of resourceful use when it comes to all sorts of squads showing up for what appears, and I've seen it, not domestic violence, other very minor things, and all the squads show up. Get them on foot, get them on bicycle, and let them talk to the people. And when necessary, don't talk to the people, call in a squad. That's my opinion.
Ma'am, thank you for sharing. Did you want me to respond to that, or was that just a statement made in general? Okay. So a couple things, and I did listen very carefully to what you said, and I say this with tremendous respect to you. If you're not in the law enforcement community, I think you need to just have an overview of you can have your opinion about what you think the appropriate level of response is, but at the end of the day, that's something that those of us that actually wear the uniform are going to determine. And I say that respectfully. As far as pedal bike options, I think you're on the right track. I don't want to speak for the major, but that is something that he has discussed as the commander of this district, to see if that's not something that we can bring back and actually put officers on pedal bikes at some point. So there is that in mind. But again, I would just encourage everybody here to not make assumptions that could be incorrect. You're entitled for your opinion. If you think there's too much police at a certain scene, you're entitled to your opinion, but please understand, maybe you don't have the totality of the facts, okay? But as far as foot patrols and pedal bikes, I like the ideas that you're talking about. We just have to then allocate some resources to do that. The pedal bikes is something I know that the major has talked with us about to see if we can't do it. And maybe that's something that can actually happen down the road. Do you feel that that kind of answered your question a little bit? Yeah.
Tim?
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your questions.
Tim?
Yeah, good evening. Welcome, Major, to Waikiki. I kind of had a concern with what she brought up also. I'm in Waikiki every day, more than anybody here, except for maybe John. And we see what goes on down there. And I understand the budget restraints, the shortage of officers, but I have also haven't seen any officers on bikes for months. I haven't seen any officers walking Kalakaua for months. That was a pretty good deterrent down there. And if we could get some money or something, maybe through Trevor or whatever, and get that back going, because that's the deterrent. When you guys are driving by, nobody, that's it. I mean, you're really short-staffed, and I'm really encouraging the police department, I talked with Chief Joe, to really start using AI. We've been hearing about the shortage of officers for years, and it's incrementally getting a little bit better. But the secret to policing, if you're short of help, is going to be AI. Cameras that are going to look at a situation and help you identify where the problems are going to be. A lot of people are going to say, privacy issues and whatever, but we're not addressing the issue of the shortage of policemen. So let's implement AI. There's many programs out there. I've been encouraging the mayor and the chief to help you guys identify where the problems are instead of driving around and looking for them. Thanks for all your service.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your question. As far as, again, we'll circle back to the pedal bikes. You haven't seen pedal bikes because we currently are not using pedal bikes within District 6. The support units that we're currently using ride the ATVs in the evening. Maybe you've seen them. The pedal bikes were something that has been done previously. It went away for reasons I don't know. But like I said, it is something that we are evaluating and looking into. And it sounds from the discussion here tonight that the community would like to see the pedal bikes back. So it's certainly something that we could have for discussion. I do want to clarify something, and this is more for the officers that work daytime. It is not uncommon for a patrolman that's driving a police car to pull the car over and actually walk and talk to some of the business owners. That's not uncommon. I'm not saying it happens every day, all day long, but it is something that is encouraged, and it is something that is done by the officers. As we talked about before, when we came together to have this fellowship, Waikiki has 2 sectors. Within each sectors, there's different beats. Some officers have permanently assigned beats. So those officers that work daytime or nighttime are able to build relationships with business owners and with people that live in the community. What I'm hearing from certain members of the community tonight is, hey, we want more cops on the street We want them out of the car. We'd like to see them walking. We'd like to see them on pedal bikes. I'm just reiterating that so you know that I'm hearing what you're sharing with us tonight. So thanks.
I have two board members who I hope are responding to questions from the audience so we can comply with OIP. Mr. Murs, followed by Daniel. Jeff?
I had a question on the board has nothing to do with.
Okay. Go ahead. We'll see.
Well, I just wanted to, it was good to see the muffler citation. And I haven't really seen that much, but I'm just curious, maybe you don't know specifics, but what did that look like as far as it was a car, was it pulled over? And the reason I'm asking is because maybe whatever tools were used or circumstances we could, because we know if we were citing the neighbor, we hear mufflers all the time. So I mean, one citation is better than zero. But I'm just wondering what the incident looked like, what the tools look like, and can we replicate that with future?
Sure. Thanks for your question. Can I call you by your first name? Is that okay? So Jeffrey, I think we all could agree that we could probably give 400 citations a day for loud mufflers in Waikiki. Let's give that as a disclaimer. The question is where are our personnel at? When have they heard it, and do they have time to do it? With that said, Jeffrey, I don't know the specifics about this one citation, but again, I wanted to give a disclaimer. Loud mufflers in Waikiki are everywhere. They're obnoxious. They're a real problem. As I've shared before, if we cite for loud muffler, it is, I think we had this discussion, it's like $70-something for this type of offense. And it's an equipment violation. Not only that, I don't know how these mopeds are passing safety checks because they're not supposed to be passing safety checks with modified exhaust. Now, I'm not redirecting the focus here. The focus is police, we want you to do enforcement. Got it. But if we back up and we say, well, how are these mopeds even allowed on the street? Well, there's a failure in the safety check process. And perhaps as a community, we need to come together and ask ourselves, if police take enforcement action for this loud muffler and the penalty is a $79 ticket that doesn't go to your driving abstract, is that enough of a deterrent to tell that individual to make a change? And as we all know, if you get a safety check, it's good for 12 months. So again, loud mufflers come up here all the time. And again, I don't mean to dissuade. We can continue to do proactive enforcement. I'm just sharing with members of the community, members of the board, that there clearly is a failure happening in the safety check process. These mopeds should not be passing the safety check. Also, again, just to reiterate, do we want to reevaluate what the fine schedule is if we actually cite somebody? Is a ticket that's, like I said, $70-something going to motivate somebody to actually change that? And is that a quality of life issue? Absolutely. It's beyond ridiculous. And I understand what you're saying. We just have to keep doing the best we can. We're going to continue to do enforcement, and I'll keep you folks updated on our end if anything comes down that can actually assist us doing that. Fair enough,
Daniel,
Jeffrey? Okay, thank you.
Daniel, a follow-up question.
Thank you, Chair. Daniel Jacob and Major, thank you for coming. As long as I've been on this board, and I think other members can attest, Catherine Hinsky maybe, that there's two issues that have predominated the discussion between this board and HPD. And that's what you appear to clearly recognize. It's foot patrol and enforcement of noise. For you to say it's beyond ridiculous, what only have one loud muffler enforcement doesn't weigh out for me. I mean, just enforce the law, write the $70 tickets. I don't think anybody who gets constantly $7 tickets is going to say, oh, it's only $70 for me to wake up 22,000 some odd people in Waikiki, not including the terrorists at 1 a.m. Everybody in this room has sat at 1 a.m. or at midnight and just heard the most loudest engine revving. You can hear it from the minute they're at your doorstep till the end of the other side of Waikiki. And, the gatherings I can attest to, and Waikiki, for Halloween, there was no less than 50, 60 officers. 30, 40 probably present in 3 groups of 10. At one point, about 9 PM, I'm walking Kalakaua. Here comes 8 individual police cars, all lit up with sirens. Thereafter, there was 8 motorcycle police officers heading into Waikiki. You know, to hear that you're understaffed, but then see, you know, a force of 50, 60 plus officers for Halloween. You know, and then this morning, every day I walk the dog, 3 or 4 officers. You never see an officer's car by itself. You always see them 3 deep, 2, 3 deep. I see them hanging out in the gas station by Fort DeRusi, 3, 4 deep. And yeah, in the end, there's 2 things this board constantly asks for. And I hope after years and years of asking, we get a new major we can deliver. And that's foot patrol and enforcement of the loud muffler. You have the tools, please use them. That's what we're asking for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your questions. And I remember last time I was here, you and I had some spirited discussion on a couple of topics, and it seems like that's the direction we're taking again tonight. Couple things. 2-part question. Please don't misinterpret me highlighting the fact that we had 1 loud muffler citation with the fact that officers working under our command are not proactively willing to do enforcement. If there's a stop made for loud muffler, there's going to be a citation issued. So there's nothing coming from the police department where the officers have a mentality of, well, you know what, this is just a losing battle. The fines aren't enough. We're not going to issue tickets. If we do a stop for a loud muffler, they're directed to take appropriate enforcement action if they see fit. The second part of your question, you're illustrating Halloween. Halloween for us is probably the most important public safety event that we have in Waikiki next to the Honolulu Marathon. I think it's a little bit unfair to take a perception or have an opinion that because you saw, we had several hundred officers actually come in from all over the island to make sure that we could adequately provide a level of public safety that's appropriate for 40,000 people wearing costumes walking on the sidewalks. And full transparency, that evening, we didn't care about loud mufflers in any capacity because we prioritized our resources accordingly. So just to share with the community, on Halloween evening, there were several hundred officers brought in from other districts to assist us to make sure that individuals could have an enjoyable evening and at the same time not have any public safety issues. That is not the normal staffing of Waikiki. I want to make that point clear. The second point is, I'm going to be very candid and upfront, and that's just how I am. Loud mufflers are ridiculous. I can say it's out of control, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be able to direct manpower and resources to issue citations for all of that. But let me be real clear. If there's a stop for a loud muffler, we're going to do it. The takeaway from this tonight is pedal bikes, foot patrol, noise. I want to reiterate that so you know we got it, okay? I've been here for, I think, 4 months. And again, it's a process, it's a journey. There's new leadership, as you pointed out. We're going to come together and try as best we can to navigate some of the, I would say, the nuisance issues and some of the criminal stuff that's happening. And I will say this, I appreciate members of the board and community sharing their concerns, but it's also nice that if there's a solution presented that maybe you think we could do, and then we could come together as a partnership. I'm happy to stand up here and answer your questions, but if you, as a member of the community, if you have an issue, and maybe if you thought about a possible solution, we can always have a dialogue about that, and maybe we can come to a solution together if possible. But again, we're happy to be here, and the concerns you have are definitely noted. It's not going in one ear and out the other. It's just that with the leadership here, it takes a little time to navigate. And I hope you understand that. And if you don't, I can't really help you for that.
John, did you have a question?
Really quick. I think it was Saturday night or Sunday morning, there was a gigantic explosion in the zoo area. Catherine, did you hear that? I thought the North Koreans fired their first shot. Was that? Yeah. When I got up, it's just lightning, like, okay, but You know what that was about?
Occasionally we have calls of, like an aerial fireworks or something that
It was really bad.
Saturday night, I don't recall anything. There was no, how's this? There was no event that happened at the zoo. There was no, issue that came in on our end, as far as any type of,
Yeah, I don't remember the night, but there was no response, so I figured it was just lightning or something, so. But it was bad. But the second question, the follow-up on suggestions.
Yeah.
Loud noise is not my priority, although it's a problem. Mine is more about the habitual lurkers we have living here. But the zoo, which I live right across the street from, is the staging area for loud mufflers, drag racing, loud mopeds, loud noise, everything. So that parking lot, which is a quasi-private parking lot, they don't provide security. You guys have to deal with it. That is like ground zero. So if I was in charge of mufflers, I'd put all my people at the zoo because that's where the beginning and end of all that is. Thanks.
thanks for that. What time do you notice? that?
Well, Friday night and Saturday and partially Sunday, it's it's constant. I mean, I'm a pretty sound sleeper. I go to bed early, so I get up early to surf, but I would say that if you just, once the sun goes down, hang out at the zoo and you're going to have more efficient results. 9 to 2? Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You have a follow-up question?
Yeah, following up on what John said.
Sure.
And I agree. Not last night, but the night before last, at 1 o'clock in the morning, there were a group of cars in the zoo parking lot. They had their trunks open, their windows and doors open. They were blasting music. They were screaming and yelling and dancing. And I kept waiting for my neighbors to call you guys.
Mm.
And finally, I did call.
Mhm.
And within a matter of seconds after I called, you guys showed up. But it went on for a good hour. In reference to what John has explained, it was one humongous loud explosion.
Mm.
It wasn't fireworks. It was late at night, probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. It sounded like a bomb had gone off. You were right.
Okay. So I wasn't working, I don't have that information readily available. I can certainly check into it and next time we come together. Okay. No, thank you for the question.
In compliance with the OIP, I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us. We're happy
Glad
to
to
be here.
have you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Board of Water Supply.
Now I feel bad. I don't have an official report for this. Yep. Pending the OIP ruling, we didn't prepare an actual agenda report for the month, but I do have the stats. On October 3rd, there was one main break, 8-inch main fronting 1925 Kalakaua Avenue. And that was it for the month of October. We don't currently have any construction work in the area. And without a formal report, I'm going to throw out a shameless plug that we too are understaffed at the Board of Water Supply, as are most agencies through the city and state. So if anybody's looking for work, if you know any engineers, IT people, customer care agents, administrative support, you can always jump on our website, borderwatersupply.com/jobs. We'd be happy to interview people and try and fill some of our many vacancies as well. And at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions on behalf of the Board of Water Supply.
Okay, questions for the Board of Water Supply from the audience? None? Questions from the board? All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Laura, I'm sorry we let him go. Dominic, we had one person on the WebEx asking a question.
No, 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 no. No, that was for the next, that's for the next agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have citizens' concerns not covered by the regular agenda. Carolina?
My name is Carlino Giampolo. I will make 12 points concerning the issue of way too early morning trash pickup by private refuse haulers. 1, on October 9th, I sent an email to Chair Tommy Waters that said in part, quote, "Are you willing to contact the owners of Honolulu Disposal Service and West Oahu Aggregate to let them know that this abuse must end? If not, then please consider resigning." He did not respond. 2, on October 18th, I sent an email to each Waikiki board member asking for assistance to help break Chair Waters' silence. 3, I provided a suggestive message to him and also suggested that you create your own. 4, on October 28th, I made a right to know request to Chair Tommy Waters and others for correspondence regarding activities of private refuse haulers. 5, no member of this board asked Chair Waters to respond to the question. 6, one member did call his office and sent me an email. That resulted in my October 25th email to Chair Waters with the subject, quote, "Untruths and misconception. Response needed to October 9th email." Each of you have a copy of my email. 7, included in that email was a 19-second video of trash pickup activities in Waikiki from 2:53 a.m. to 3:44 a.m. 8, Chair Waters never responded to the question in the October 9th email. 9, this morning I sent an email to Chair Waters that said in part, quote, "It is time for change. It is time for you to resign." 10, last month's board meeting was shameful. 2 board members attempted to stop me from questioning Rick Eggett. That must never happen again to any resident in our community seeking the truth. 11, the private refuse hauler owners have never been asked to come before this board. They did not attend a meeting set up by Mark Formby in August and no local media has ever interviewed them. However, just by inviting them, this board would have shown a deeper caring for our community.
Sir, you please summarize. You've reached your 2.5 minutes.
This is my last point. 12, finally, in the near future, I don't plan on asking for assistance from this board, nor do I plan on attending any of these meetings. Our grassroots movement will keep on keeping on by pursuing legal action to create a new future for everyone impacted by the abuse of way too early morning trash pickup. Thank you for your attention. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you. Go ahead, but
Hello. Sorry, I'm not really good at public speaking. Let me refer back to my notes. My name is Margarita Abramovich. My husband and I have been longtime residents of Waikiki. We love our home. We love our neighborhood. We love our sense of community here. However, for the past several months, we've been repeatedly awakened in the middle of the night by the sounds of large garbage trucks, by loud noise of the garbage trucks. As a physician and a psychiatrist, I'm acutely aware of the serious impact that sleep deprivation and disrupted sleep can have on medical and psychological health, especially to our kapuna. I've reached out to a few city council members and board members about this issue, and I appreciate the responses I've received. But today, I'm here not only to express my concern, but to also show support for Carlino and everybody else who's leading the effort to make sure our lives and well-beings are no longer disrupted by these late-night disruptions. Finding a solution to this complex problem will likely require cooperation between the community, the city, and the companies responsible for waste management. Hopefully, our ongoing advocacy will help spark changes necessary for a quieter, healthier environment for everyone in Waikiki. Thank you.
Excuse me, you're supposed to ask me before you pass the microphone around, but go ahead, sir.
Aloha. I want to address the ongoing issue of excessive noise caused by garbage trucks and related operations in the early morning hours, particularly between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., when residents should be able to enjoy a peaceful night's sleep. I've lived in Waikiki for over 6 years, and I know that noise is part of the deal. I accept the parades, the motorcycles revving their engines, and the late night noise from tourists. But what I find unreasonable is the intentional scheduling of trash pickups by private haulers in the early morning, sometimes as early as 2 a.m., disrupting residents' sleep. My wife and I first raised this issue in May, and since then we've received various responses. Chair Finley highlighted the challenges but offered no solutions. Board member Catherine Hensky said she was waiting for further research. Board member Sarah Worth connected us with Carlino Giampolo, who has been admirably leading the charge on this issue. Board member Greg Misakian has proposed drafting legislation for 2025. And Amanda Zepeda from Chair Tommy Waters' office pointed us to past discussions and failed bills while forwarding complaints to Mayor Blangiardi's office for review. Despite these efforts, little progress has been made. Just yesterday, I was woken at 3:45 a.m. by garbage trucks hauling trash. This issue has persisted for over 2 years, and it's discouraging to see so little action. I'm not a politician, but elected officials have a duty to serve the public, and that means addressing issues like this, even when they're complex. We've heard numerous excuses that this issue is out of the legislature's control, that private contracts are involved, that there isn't enough community support, or that private haulers oppose the change because it would hurt their bottom line. But these excuses don't justify inaction. Why are these issues continually shelved? Why are we waiting for voluntary input from private haulers who benefit from the status quo? This won't be solved through bureaucracy and empty promises. We need real action. Blaming the 2020 pandemic and quote supply chain issues is getting old, especially when we see garbage truck owners expanding their operations and their private residences in Kahala while claiming financial hardship. It's also hard to accept that garbage trucks are too unsafe for normal hours, yet construction vehicles are allowed to operate freely in Waikiki. What will it take to get action? More letters, more discussions, more calls for elected officials to step down if they do nothing? Even a news story by KITV Island News hasn't sparked change. We're frustrated and we're losing patience. This issue may be complex, but it's solvable. If the problem is a shortage of drivers, offering better wages to attract drivers for more reasonable hours could help. It's about the equipment. Why not invest in quieter trucks?
Sir, please summarize. Thank you.
Technology. I'm almost done. Why not revisit safety regulations to reduce noise from beeping trucks in the early hours? Or what about government subsidized rebates to help residents replace their windows with double or triple pane glass? If we can't regulate noise during designated quiet hours, how can we expect to manage it during waking hours? At the end of the day, this isn't just a nuisance, it's a matter of quality of life. It's time to stop making excuses and start making real changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. John Deutzman, Waikiki. We're off next month and the legislative session's going to begin. And my thought, one thing we get behind, we've got some momentum already. The governor seems to be for it for the first time. The Star Advertiser seems to be for it. And that's building a new jail. I think Steve's probably for that too. Our prosecutor. OCCC was, the last time it really was modernized was in the 70s. And our population was like 511,000. Population is about 1 million now. And it hasn't been refurbished and it hasn't been expanded. I'm a firm believer that 1% of the population or thereabouts is unfixable, incorrigible. And that percentage, as the population grows, needs to be in jail for the safety of the public. Now we have maybe 3 organizations that don't want anybody to be in jail: the ACLU, the get out of jail lady, I forgot her name, and there's one other group, and the total membership's about 3 people. We have an island of a million, who most, I think, would like to see bad guys go to jail and would like to have more capacity for the increased population. So I think it's something we should get behind next time it comes up. Thanks.
Thank you. We have one person online.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, let me go ahead then. Thank you very much from Mrs. Laura Ruby. I do live on the Mauka side of Alawai Canal, but what I am advocating, again, as you might have noticed, is a full EIS. This is what's called human environment, and it has to do with the social, cultural, historical, and environmental concerns. That is a full picture of any site before it's developed. And I might point out to you that I don't think in your board meetings that you've had any discussion about the new Hilton building, because it already went through a full EIS, which meant it had a full compendium of people reviewing it. And I don't think you've said anything about the full EIS for the new beach control, which would bring sand back to the beaches. So there's already the precedent for full EISs. And I'd like you to think that you would join with the Diamond Head Board, the Manoa Board, and the Waikiki Board and ask for a full EIS. I'll put the resolution before you next time, and I'd appreciate it very much. There's a few things also that need to be clarified every time you hear things repeated. And by the way, you can come to a meeting on the 20th or the 23rd, and you can you as community members can have your own input as to what you want to see regarding a passage across the canal. The site doesn't have to be determined as it is now, and nor does the large monster bridge have to be determined. Think about the Kalakaua Bridge. Think of how low and modest it is. It's wider than it needs to be, of course, for pedestrians or bicyclists. We only have, all bicycle routes are only 10 feet wide. That is what's been proposed. Across the canal is far wider than that. I would also suggest that people understand there is nothing more. The only thing that can be done in the case of a tsunami or hurricane or anything is survey in place, and that stay in place above the 4th floor. There's people talking about relief for crossing. You only cross into a big pond over on this side, which would be, you wouldn't want to have people wading through 3 or 4 feet of water to go nowhere. So I would suggest that people stop saying that these requests are in place. And the other thing is, I want to have, maybe Rick Aga can speak to it also, but the Kalaimoku street has been almost decimated. There are big vacant lots, and there are closed up, boarded up buildings, and there is substandard housing that's over there. Is the city planning something that you folks know about that we don't?
Please
So I hope
summarize.
that- Yes, I will. Okay. Yes, so I will take any questions. There's no reason, Roger Morton went to the 14-foot high, and he added 2 more feet onto the height of the bridge. The bridge does not need to be any higher than just a modest amount higher than the Kalakaua Bridge with the good Kalakaua designs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, point of order. The member of the public.
Excuse me. The member of the public was speaking. We have someone that's a timekeeper, member Jacob. While that member was speaking, a number of times, member Mertz and another member over there interrupted her, saying 2 minutes, 2 minutes. I think we give them 2.5 minutes, but the timer didn't go off yet. And rudely, she was interrupted. I think we should give her about 30 seconds more so she can speak uninterrupted, but that's completely inappropriate.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Ms. On?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me, sir?
Yes.
I would like you to please put on the agenda for next time is the full EIS, the discussion of it, and the way in which all 3 other of the boards have already passed a full EIS, and you know your own community with the Hilton or the sand refitting has also been passed by EIS. So there's no reason why it couldn't be done also. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from No, please, let's move on. Okay, I see no other hands from the audience. I see no other hands on there. Remind everybody, we do have a 2.5 minute limit. And as soon as I hear the beeper, I'll call the 2.5 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Next on our agenda is public events. Friday, November 29th, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m., the Waikiki Holiday Parade. That's on a Friday night. Okay, Sunday, December 1st, 10:30 to noon, Street Bikers United Toys for Tots Caravan, and that will be noisy. Just even if they try to keep the noise down, it happens. So that's December 1st. Saturday, December 7th, 5:30 to 8:30 a.m. is the annual Kalakaua Merry Mile Run. That's part of the Honolulu Marathon. And I keep telling them I want them to run, not walk, so they get through hurry. Saturday, December 7th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., the Pearl Harbor Memorial Annual Parade. Sunday, December 8th, 2:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. in various parts of Oahu is the Honolulu Marathon. And it all ends up in Kapiolani Park. So that's Sunday, December 8th. I don't have the schedule for next year yet, but I can say certainly on Monday, January 20th, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m., we will have the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Parade. The other agendas are not on the website yet. Those are all of the events that I am aware of. There could be a instant First Amendment event that we don't know about yet, but certainly nothing there. Applications for liquor licenses. I think Tommy Penrose has one in his building. The Aui Hawaiian Grill, LP, 1910 Ala Moana Boulevard. It'll be in Suite 2. It's a beer and wine event. That's the only liquor license that I'm aware of. Elected officials, and again, we will have questions from the audience first before we can move on to board members responding to those questions. So first on our agenda is the mayor's representative, Nola.
Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. Good evening, Sheriff Finley, members of the neighborhood board. Happy to be here. I guess I wasn't here last month, but from the staff at Anson and the staff at the neighborhood board, I have some updates. I guess first thing I'm going to do is just give a couple new announcements and talk a little bit about highlights from the mayor's newsletter. But I think there's two things that we're going to start to give some updates that are relevant to the Waikiki Neighborhood Board. And so the first one is, I'm not sure how many people have heard about the timing for the construction of the new transit priority lane on Kuopio Avenue. I'm not sure if everyone has, I'm sure you're aware of it, but it's going to start, I'm sorry, actually begin the week of November 4th, which is probably last week. But I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Basically, there's going to be a transit lane. Phase 1 of the project covers West Brown Lane and Kuopio Avenue from Kakahu to La'unio Street. And the Epabon bus lane will use red pavement markings and signage. Priority will be given to city and private buses, as well as large trucks and bicycles. And the idea is to try to give a limited right-of-way space in the dense traffic areas, but the intent is really to reduce operational delays due to traffic congestion. So when the buses and the big delivery trucks stop and start, they'll have a lane that they can do this at. So hopefully it won't impact the rest of the traffic. And so the first phase basically will last about 4 weeks, started last week. The working hours, Monday to Friday, except holidays, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. to 5:30. I guess the two things, the daytime work is basically eradication of pavement markings and new markings and sign installation. And then the evening time is some kind of special red methacrylate paint installed at night because it requires lower pavement temperatures. So there will be some delays along Cleo during the construction, so we apologize for that. But basically, I know there's been a lot of outreach from the Department of Transportation. This is under the Complete Streets Project. So if you want more information about that, please go to www.8, I'm not sure if that's a typo, www.honolulu.gov/complete streets/Waikiki. So you can get more information about that. Another update that I have is regarding the Alawai pedestrian bridge design. I know that's a concern for a number of people. So what they're entering now is an additional opportunity for community involvement for the Alawai pedestrian bridge design. And so there's been a lot of interest and, expressed wanting to comment from Waikiki, Mo'ili'ila, and Macaulay communities. So the DTS is going to increase the community involvement in the design of the bridge. It's currently called Alapono to address community concerns. And this is a partnership with DOT, State DOT, Federal Highway Administration. And so basically the topics that they're going to cover with the community is using the design build procurement process to solicit design alternatives to the current cable stayed bridge design. Another one is inviting at least 3 National Historic Preservation Act Section 106 consulting party members to participate in the design build procurement by providing recommendations to the evaluators. They will hosting 2 additional public charrettes and workshops to solicit additional feedback from the community on preferred bridge design. And though not required by federal regulations, the city will also provide an additional public comment period prior to the adoption of the final environmental document. So I think there should be a lot of opportunity for everyone to provide their input. But once there is a final design, I think that's it. And I don't know exactly the dates on the 2 workshops will be held. Okay, here it is on November 20 and 23rd. And they will be posted on the Alapono website once they are confirmed. The RFP is expected to be issued in 2025 and a contract awarded later the same year. Construction will last approximately 3 years. So again, if anyone wants more information on those workshops, go to www.honolulu.gov/DTS/ALA-PONO, Alapono. Okay, so, and then the last update is Neighborhood Commission is conducting a comprehensive review of the neighborhood plan. A presentation with more information is available, I think, to Chair Finley to the Google Drive. And if you have any questions or comments, please contact Fancio. Okay, so in response to some of the questions raised last month, so there was a question for HPD on road encroachment. Resident raised concerns of shore fires, tables, and chairs encroaching on the sidewalk at 2446 Koa Avenue. And HPD requested an extension until the next meeting to to investigate and report back. So we'll get back to everybody on that. The Beaky bikes, resident Ed Springer raised concerns about a Beaky bike dock approaching on the right-hand lane on Kapulu Avenue before the intersection of Kuhio Avenue and Kapulu. So the Department of Transportation Services responded due to an upcoming perimeter fencing replacement project at Jefferson Elementary School. BTS has allowed the Beaky station at the intersection of Kapulu and Kuhio to be moved onto Kapulu Avenue. The Beaky station has an active street use permit and occupies 2 metered stalls. Delineators were installed in front of the station for added safety. The station's orientation provides added comfort for Beaky users when docking and retrieving bicycles away from vehicle traffic. So it sounds like that's a temporary placement while the fence around Jefferson Elementary School is being replaced. It sounds like it's temporary. I can confirm, but it sounds like it's because there's a fence replacement project at Jefferson Elementary School. Okay, and so we'll find out if we'll just confirm if it's temporary or not. I mean, it sounds like it is, but they didn't actually say that. Okay, so I know there's been a lot of comments on the trash pickup tonight. I don't know if Mr. Giampolo is here anymore, but there is a lengthy response from the managing director that I'd like to read. So can I go ahead and? Okay. So regarding updates on early trash pickup, and the managing director's office has been working with Carlino Giampolo for over a year and have been unable as of yet to arrive at a workable operational solution. Mr. Giampolo wants no commercial trash pickup before 6 a.m. countywide. However, there are a number of operational and safety concerns that have been raised by and have precluded buy-in from the commercial industry. So number one, there's limitations on equipment and manning. Number two, the impact to timing of deliveries to H Power, which will cause increased congestion associated with city trash pickup. Three, safety, pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists during the regular work hours. Traffic, interference with current road usage levels. And five, one size does not fit all. And I'm going to explain what these are. Okay, so basically, the city really has to prioritize public safety to a large extent. And I guess it seems that this has been discounted. It's not just about the noise, it is about public safety. The trash haulers are able to operate efficiently and quickly between 4 and 6 a.m. because there are less concerns about pedestrians, taking bicyclists, and traffic. And the vehicles which position the dumpsters off property so they can be picked up by the haulers move quickly and freely during non-rush hour traffic hours. These movements will be significantly hampered by the presence of pedestrian, bicyclist, and motor vehicle traffic. So on the issue of one size fits all, that really is referencing the fact that I think there has been conversation with Mr. Giampolo that there are specific properties with more complaints than others, and some properties with absolutely no complaints. So this may be due to design of buildings, layout of trash pickup areas, and location. So when the mayor's office or managing director's office broached the possibility of addressing the buildings with noise concerns versus a blanket policy across Oahu, Mr. Giampolo was not interested in discussing a partial solution. So we believe there may be merit in a pilot project that would address known areas of known concern as opposed to just issuing a blanket policy or a city-wide ordinance or whatever it's going to take. Anyway, till to date, Mr. Giampolo has not been willing to negotiate on these concerns, and he has not helped credibility with council and administration by claiming that the administration and the council have no dignity for not legislating a blanket ban on trash pickup before 6 a.m. So the mayor and MD have offered to hold a town hall in Waikiki to discuss this specific concern, including the safety concerns of the industry. But apparently, Mr. Giampolo was not interested in a town hall, and the issue remains open. Okay. Okay, and final concern from last month is this rock water feature. Someone asked for the rock water feature in Kalakaua across the Nani Aloha shirt outlet to be fixed. And this is under the Department of Parks and Recreation. One of 2 pumps is currently out awaiting a part, and only one pump operating. Flow of waterfall is reduced. So apparently as soon as the part is in, it will be repaired. And I think that's the main thing. I did want to mention a couple of things that are not necessarily related only to Waikiki, but I thought everyone should be aware of. There's a proposed sewer fee increase across the island. And this is really because the way all of our wastewater and sewage operations run is they run on a special fund called a sewer fund, and it's funded by our own sewer fees. There's no other revenue to support the sewer and wastewater operations, and there hasn't been an increase to our sewer fee since 2016, so it's going on 9 years. So what they're proposing is they need about $10 billion in upgrades and improvements for Oahu's wastewater system through the year 2040. $10 billion is going to cover more than 100 projects that the department needs to complete to keep everything running at sufficient capacity. So to help with the affordability, so the proposal of sewer fee increases is 9% each year for the first 6 years, followed by smaller annual increases of 8%, 7%, 6%, and 5%. If approved, the increases will begin in July of 2025. And to help with affordability, the city is proposing to change the way we calculate sewer bills, ensuring that those people using less water will pay less on the bill. And we're proposing a new customer assistance for residential environmental services called CARES program, which will give qualifying households monthly credit to use towards the sewer bill. So just to let everyone, prepare everyone, but the sewer bill is paid through it's a joint bill through the water and water supply. So it's kind of hard to figure out. You have to look at the bill carefully, but that's where the sewer bill fees are. There have been FEMA updates, so those of you in Waikiki may want to check. There's been some increased areas for hazard. Flood hazards. We wanted to talk about the fact that we appreciate the Waikiki residents for allowing the Pride Parade, which was recently in October 19th, and it was a wonderful event, and it really, I think it really gives Honolulu a great sense of diversity to really have that Pride Parade, and the city and county is, of course, very happy to be part of that. The mayor was there. And I think that's about it for mayor's report.
Thank you. Members of the audience. Yes. Gentleman in the back, please use microphone over here.
Hi, I know Carlino did leave, not that I'm trying to pick up the torch or anything, but even though he has been spearheading this effort regarding the garbage pickup at late night hours, and he's been doing a great job representing us, I don't want to think that him not being here means the issue is not still a concern for the rest of us residents in Waikiki, including myself and my wife. So I would gladly take the mayor up on his offer for a town hall meeting to discuss why there cannot be anything done to rectify this situation in a safe manner. I am curious whether there is actually any data that supports the fact that it would be unsafe to pick up trash after 6 a.m. or if that's just a general statement based off of what we think might happen. I also think we should consider outside of the box solutions. I think I mentioned it during my statement earlier that I know that the Board of Water Supply offers rebates on water saving devices. Why is there not any type of subsidy for residents who are subjected to this late night traffic noise to get help to pay for thicker windows? I have jalousies. The sound goes right through it. I've gotten quotes on changing my windows. It's not cheap. But if there's no way to change the process, then perhaps these private trash haulers also need to consider contributing to the costs that the residents are now incurring to solve the problem that they're creating. And I think that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Wait. I have some more people before we start. Anybody else in the audience? Tim, you're standing right there. And
Yeah,
I
good
saw
evening,
Ann, you're
Nolan.
next.
I invited Rick to the meeting tonight, but he was already committed to a fundraiser for Sylvia Luke. Can you imagine that? So I guess, they need to raise some money for elections 2 years down the road. But anyway, maybe in January, since we're not meeting in December, he said he would be willing to come down and meet with all of you and discuss everything. The other thing, in regards to Kuhio Avenue being one lane for the buses, do we have an ETA on when that is going to go into effect?
Well, I think the construction has started and it will take about 4 weeks. So I guess the beginning of December, beginning or middle of December.
It'll start being implemented.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, right now there's this 4 week. It's not construction, but it's, implementation.
Okay, thank you.
Painting. And
I invite everybody to come down to the first street closure on Kalakaua or Parade and see all the gridlock.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, ma'am.
Who are you speaking? Are you speaking to me? Oh, no, sorry.
There was an earlier discussion about the loud mufflers and the fact there was only one citation issued. And I appreciate the information from the officer that it's only a $70 fine. What would be the process to increase that to say something reasonable like 200?
sorry, these are fines for
Loud mufflers.
loud numbers. Okay.
And is there a cap? Because he, I forget the verbiage he used, equipment. So I don't. He talked about the safety check, but he also said it's an equipment violation. No? Okay. And I don't know how that works within the city, whether it's capped at a certain amount, but still there should be an avenue, pardon the pun, to get that increased, I would hope. Thank you.
Laura Ruby, you can speak now.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. Yes, would you please talk to Mr. Mayor? He's doing an excellent job. We all support him very much, but we would really like him not to sign the MOA that's coming down regarding the bridge. We don't want it to be a negative legacy project for him. Let it be a legacy negative for somebody previous to him. So we would like him to stop the process. Matter of fact, he can stop the process even before that anytime he wants to. We're going to have the full charrettes, and charrettes mean you start with a lot of people with coming different views and coming to some kind of agreement, not by a DTS mandate or direction. So I would hope that he would understand that we all want the very best for him and that we would like him to stop that particular project. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ed Springer.
Hi, Nola. It's Ed Springer. I'm online. I appreciate you're answering my question and finding out. Hopefully it is temporary, but let me give you a couple of reasons why it's even a bad idea temporarily for beaky bikes to block off the right lane of Kapahulu. First off, all the traffic is always going to have to merge together. That leaves one lane that goes by. And if we get a double bus that comes along there to pick up passengers, it blocks that one lane. So all traffic is blocked on Kapahulu temporarily while the bus loads. Second, all the emergency vehicles that come down to my neighborhood, of my part of Waikiki, come down Kapahulu Avenue. The fire department is right at the end of Kapahulu Avenue, and vehicles come down. If they're going into town, they go down Kohio, or they come down to my neighborhood. All those vehicles have to go by now one block lane because we've got a beaky bike bike stand there. Third, in the past, there's been parking there, but when there's an event happening, they come along and they put signs that say no parking for the event, except they can't do that now because the beaky bike stand is permanent. So whatever emergency reason that they needed to have that second lane for the event, and my guess it'll happen in Honolulu, the marathon in a couple of weeks. It happened a couple of weeks ago, and it'll happen and when the marathon runs, they can't get the full lane because the beaky bike stand is there. So my concern is the beaky bike stand being there even temporarily on the pavement causes some risk to me, and so I'm concerned about that. So thank you for listening. Oh, and let me add one other item. One other item. There's already a beaky bike stand at the Queen Kapiolani, which is about 100 yards away from where the current one is.
Okay, I've got Lou, followed by Catherine, followed by Jeff, followed by Sarah.
Okay, thank you. This OIP thing is a little tricky, but I guess since Laura raised the question on the bridge, then it's appropriate for me to ask this. And I guess even the OIP attorney will think that's okay. I read the mayor's press release, and I was listening to what you said about, although not required, the cities having these additional public comment periods. And I'm just looking at the language prior to the adoption of the final environmental document. So I guess my question is, shall I take that to mean that the city is still contemplating whether to require an EIS or not? And that this meeting will have some bearing on that? Or should I interpret that to mean that the city's already kind of decided to adopt the document and accept the environmental assessment versus the EIS, and this is just an additional opportunity for input in any event? You know the answer to that?
I think that, I mean, I think, I'm trying to, I don't know exactly the way it's, it's written up. It's part of their Complete Streets project, and the Complete Streets project is federal funded. And so I think there's a sense that basically the Complete Streets is to basically support a network of bicycle and pedestrian.
No, I realize that, but I mean.
So whether, I
But,
don't know
I mean-
whether, I don't know whether the bridge project is final project and they're only awaiting the design. I don't know that answer.
I could answer if I could.
Sorry.
I can answer if you want me to.
Hello,
Laura, I'm sorry, we have somebody else speaking.
I understand. Okay.
Nola. Thank you, Nola, for reporting on, it's behind you, Catherine Hensky. Hi. About the bikes on the street. It's bad enough that the bikes are on the street, but not only does it take up the parking area that somebody could take, but they're extending beyond the area that a parked car would extend. Secondly, today, because there is work on Kohio, they've blocked off the area where the beaky bikes are, and the bus stop was blocked off, and the right turn lane from Kalakaua, or I'm sorry, from Kapahulu to Kohio was totally blocked off by cones. And I hope that's not going to continue with this construction that's going on, because it limits Kapahulu going Makai to one lane with no pullover for the buses. That is really dangerous. And I don't know why they couldn't possibly suggest a Beaky bike temporarily to put it up on the grass across the street where there is a parking lot currently. And then there's a green grassy area and it would not block the road. Second point is, I think it would be a great idea to have the mayor's town hall. I think on the garbage. I think that's wonderful. Yeah. And because I too have attempted to resolve Mr. Gampino's issues and the gentleman who mentioned my name.
Jeff?
No, we're grilling you tonight. Thanks for your answers, though, as always, and your research. I'm just curious, and maybe I don't know, and I probably should do homework on this, but it says sewer fees for single family residential. I get that. Do you know if, because condos we're much more sustainable, use much less infrastructure, less piping for sewers and that whole thing. So it's not just a question of how much water is conveyed or sewer water is conveyed, but the infrastructure for the sewer system as well. My point being, I would think condos would pay significantly less than this, single family homes, they would per unit. Do you have any numbers related to that? Or is it only applicable to single family residential? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but we can find out.
I'd just be curious what the per unit rate or that, because with everything in Waikiki, we're so dense and so efficient, quote unquote, that our share of infrastructure costs per person should be significantly less. But anyway, I'm throwing that out there. Thanks.
Sarah?
Although once again, I appreciate you the time and care you take, making sure that our questions are answered. I really do appreciate that. And actually, to build off of what Mr. Carlino said and what this nice couple said about the garbage trucks, you know what? I don't know what his Jim Bolo is, but is it Jim's?
He was here earlier.
Okay, but whatever. You know what? Let's have the town hall. Let's have the town hall. Let's invite the other garbage truck companies. And so let's also, I've been doing research, and you can also, they have special dumpsters you can buy that muffle the noise. There's a bunch of other things that other cities have done to address this. So let's invite those companies to come. That guy, I don't think one person should halt the community from having a town hall, the mayor with everyone involved. And then also, I'd like to point out that when these companies merge, for example, in Browning Ferris merged with Horizon, 91 employees lost their job. So when these companies merge, they like to downsize because it costs more to give a person benefits than to pay someone else overtime. So it's better to have, 5 employees and have them work overtime than have 10 employees who work just regular hours, because that other extra 5, you have to give them benefits. So I can see why these companies, don't want to hire more people. And to that effect, when they said that, they couldn't, what was it last time? They said that the drivers need special training and there's no one here on the island that will provide the special training. Well, you know what you do? You fly them to the mainland, get them the training. You fired them. Now you have to clean up your mistake. And the fact that before, the other companies were able to do their job without coming in the middle of the night. So I'm not sure why this company can't do the same. And I'm actually very surprised that when the gentleman said he's expanding his private residence in Kahalo. He's not, not hurting for money. Yeah, I'm sure he isn't. So hopefully I would really like to push that we have this town hall. Mahalo.
Thank you. And I'd be happy to, maybe at the town hall, we can address it's called the commercial driver's license A and B that they need. So I don't know if you've seen the commercials on TV by West Oahu Aggregate. They're actually advertising for CDL drivers. We have about 100 in the city that need licenses so that they can get promoted. They can drive trucks, but they can't drive certain of our equipment. And without that CDL license, they're just a bottleneck across the entire island for people who can train, people who can examine them. And so there's just this real bottleneck, and we've experienced it too. So I'm pretty sure the trash pickup companies are experiencing the same thing. It's, when people retire, it's hard to replace them. So, I mean, there is, and it's a real problem. And we are working on it hard with UC, community colleges to find trainers, and they're trying to bring trainers from the mainland. We're trying to rehire retired people, but retired trainers don't want to come back because they're retired. So it's a real issue for the islands. Now, not just in the trash pickup area, but, for us across the city, the landscapers, the people doing the tree trimming, all of that. So
Nola, when you find out about the bikes being temporary, can you make a note to get the dates for the fence project for those of us that walk over there?
Please use the microphone, sir.
Bob Steiger. I've lived in this community for over 39 years now. I live next door. And as it been mentioned before, we have a real problem with the traffic. And I was on Kahio, and like it was mentioned before, the end of Kapahulu was blocked off. Kahio blocked off from there up to here. And because they're taking off the white lines and they're going to be putting red lines on for buses only. That's why that was done. I'm sure it'll be opened up, but it'll only be for buses. Now, someone on Kahio, if that's only for buses, if someone making a left-hand turn, the left lane will be blocked, and you can't go in the right lane to go around them. We had a mayor a decade or two ago named Mayor Harris, and at the end of his term, he took off the left-hand turn lanes and put a little bit of grass and a couple of trees. He also put trees and grass on the LOI. On the LOI, at rush hour, in the morning and in the evening, for 2 or 3 hours, we had 4 lanes of traffic. Parking was closed. No parking on the LOI. We had 4 full lanes of traffic. Now you go on the LOI at 8:30 in the morning, and it's like bumper to bumper. And Kahio is really going to be a mess with just the bus lanes. They're doing westbound lanes now, and they'll be doing east lanes later. They will be, I'm sure. I don't know if it's in the paperwork or not, but it will be. And we got a real mess, and it's going to be worse. Can this be fixed so you open up left-hand turn lanes, take out the grass and curb, and let us do that? Take out the grass and move the trees over a little bit on the LOI. Mayor Harris did that. He said, we want to make it beautiful. We want grass and trees. There's been grass and trees on the LOI. I believe that was a payoff job. I believe that all of these politicians get money contributed to them from big companies, and then they want a payoff before they're out. I believe these were payoff jobs. Maybe they were, maybe I'm wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. See anybody else? Basically, one quick thing. The $72 fine for loud mufflers is set by law. So the law would have to be adjusted. And in that provision, there is nothing requiring the vehicle owner to fix it. So they can get ticket after ticket without having to fix it. But we need to move along. We're behind. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Nolan.
thank you. Thank you so much. It's lovely to thank you. Happy holidays.
Next, we have Tommy Waters. There he is.
Hello,
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Hello, Chair Finley, board members. Nice to see you all. I want to thank Director Nola Miyazaki for doing such a really complete job in her presentation. I think she basically covered everything that I wanted to cover. I note that later in your agenda, Chair, you're talking about Bill 50. I can wait until then to talk about it, or I can talk about it now.
can you wait till we get to that point of the agenda?
Absolutely, absolutely. The only
Okay,
other thing I
perfect.
wanted to point out, the city has to select a new site for a landfill. And that's a big decision to make. And once they do, we will come back to the board and let you know where that is. But siting a new landfill is gonna be expensive, folks. I just want to let you know that through all the regulatory processes and picking the site, you know, I've been told that it's gonna cost upward of $1 billion. So just keep that in mind. Ultimately, I'm supporting the mayor and the town hall regarding trash, but we all need to do a better job in reducing the garbage that we're making. Uh, I also want to talk about real quick the capital improvement budget and the operating budget. The mayor, I believe, is currently working on that with his departments, but it's not too soon for you as a community to start thinking about um, what improvements you want in Waikiki that I can include in that budget. Just as a reminder, the operating budget is $3.4 billion. I believe we approved about $1 billion in capital improvements last go around. So if you folks as a board and the community can think about um, what you would like me to include in the budget for next year, the mayor is supposed to transmit the budget to the council March 1st. So we have time, but I'd like you folks to start thinking about that now. Um, just a little bit more update on the sewer fee. It's a federal consent decree with the federal government requiring us to upgrade our sewer system to secondary treatment. So it's actually at Sand Island Treatment Center that needs to be upgraded and fixed before the sewer goes out into the ocean. It needs to be upgraded by 2035. And basically what we were told by the Department of Environmental Services is that it absolutely needs to be done. But the more information I get on this, I'm happy to convey it to you folks. Also, I thought Director Miyazaki did a great job, but it might be helpful to also get the Director of Environmental Services to come out and further explain what exactly is going to be upgraded, so you know where these fees are going. It's going to be expensive, folks. It's going to be really, really expensive. But I'd like him to come and directly tell you folks um, what the money is actually going to be used for. But I have a lot to cover on Bill 50, so I'll save that for later on in the agenda.
Do we have questions from the audience for the Tommy Waters? I don't see any. I don't see any hands. Okay, and then by OIP, we have to proceed on. We can't without a question from the audience. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Does Sharon Moriwaki have a representative here? I know Sharon is on a vacation right now. Does Adrian, I see you over there. You're not getting attacked by the dog anymore. And again, you came in a little bit late. Congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you, everyone. And, you have all my newsletters. Again, I want to thank you for another term to serve you as your representative. I'm excited, and I look forward to the team that worked with all of you. I want to thank Jillian for putting her name up to run as well. In terms of the House, we are going through leadership changes. We're still working on that. we kind of waited till after the elections to make sure that everyone is solidified in their seats before we discuss where committee chairs are going to be. But we do have a new speaker. Her name is Nadine Nakamura. She represents a district on Kauai Island. She was our former majority leader, and she has done a lot of good work. And I'm really excited about working with her as our new speaker. Throughout the month, our office has received a lot of complaints regarding the Hilton strike and the noise. I'm happy to say that the contract has been signed. We have been in communication with the local 5 as well as the hotel, expressing the matter of urgency within this, and we're happy to say that the strikes have stopped. Earlier the past month, we've also unveiled Ready Keiki at Alawai Elementary School. That will provide preschool services for many of the neighborhood residents who can send their kids there. And last but not least, in my survey, I do have a QR code that can lead you to a survey on what kind of legislation we should be working on for the upcoming legislative session. And I'm eager to hear from all of you. So I encourage all of you to fill out that survey. With that, I now open it to any questions.
Questions from the audience. Tim?
Good evening, Adrian. This is for the governor's representative, and also you and Sharon, if you're listening. And Chair Waters, the last city council meeting, they passed a resolution urging the state legislature to immediately address the hurricane and condo insurance problem. I had to take 2 nitroglycerin when I opened up my hurricane insurance bill. Last year, I went from $1,600 a year, it's not homeowners, just hurricane, to $3,700. That's almost everybody that has a mortgage with a bank or lending institution be in for a shock when your policy comes up for renewal. This is an economy buster. People on fixed income, I talked to Carl Rhodes. You guys need to go back into session to immediately address this. This affects 93% of everybody on this island. And it's not going to get any better unless we get moving on it. So be fair warned, this year and next year, better save about $5,000. I spoke with my nephew. He lives in Tampa. He's gone through 2 hurricanes. One last year, had water 4 feet up in his house, had to replace it all. Another one 3 weeks ago, same thing. I asked him what his hurricane insurance was. It was half of what we pay. This is a really pressing issue. You need to urge all your members. The governor needs to get off and get moving on this. I've talked to Sue Savio, who's the expert in insurance. She says, expect this for the next 2 to 3 years. I don't know if you guys have an extra $2,300 laying around that you want to give to an insurance company, but be fair warned. It's going to cost, and even, that's not even dealing with the condo. I'm a single family home. And 93% of the people on this island carry mortgages. And those mortgages make it that you have to have it. So you're stuck. So beware. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other members of the audience with questions? Any responses from the board about the statement just made? Greg?
Thank you very much, Tim, for that comment. I asked months ago.
Greg, could you hold on just a second? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got to respond to the condo insurance. Yes, we are very well aware. Right now, I am part of a task force that addresses the condominium insurance prices and whether or not and how to use the hurricane relief fund to address the availability. We have a bill, but we are still working with the stakeholders on how we're going to fund the bill in terms of the hurricane insurance. We have some disagreements regarding how we were going to fund it. Some advocates want the conveyance tax, an increase in the conveyance tax to fund it. Some other advocates would want insurance to pay fees to fund it as well. And we're still working on that. But I do know that we will have a bill by session time to address this, and session is in January.
Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. I didn't realize Representative Tam was going to say something. So this is an issue that I've been working on with a number of other people, and I did address this with a direct letter to the governor months ago requesting a special session. There's a lot more to the story, and I do appreciate Tim bringing this up. What people just need to realize is that it impacts single-family homes, but it greatly impacts condominium associations, which are quite extensive throughout Hawaii, especially in Waikiki and our surrounding areas in Honolulu. And what is happening at condo associations, that's a sticker shock right there, but some associations that were paying, just as an example, maybe $500,000, their insurance is going up to maybe 2 million, as high as up to 2 million. The increases are, for some are extreme, for others they're high, they're unreasonable. So some condo associations are giving special assessments, but I have requested more on this, and I know Representative Tam, there's this group that's meeting, but we don't see really what's coming out of that group. And I know there was just recently a meeting I tried to attend, but I had another conflicting meeting, and I want to ask you regarding a proposed bill, what really is the group proposing? If you could maybe give a little bit of additional information on that.
Yeah, so the group is proposing a lot of aspects. The main one that we're focused on is using the Hurricane Relief Fund that was established back in the 90s to address Hurricane Waikiki and the insurance increase. We've seen this before. Since then, it has gone dormant because it stopped writing insurance policies, with many of the market insurance companies coming back into the market. And as a result, it's been sitting dormant. We're looking to reactivate that again. But it does need a board of directors, which the governor has filled. And it does need staff, which we are currently looking for right now. The governor did sign an emergency proclamation to activate it to begin hiring. But in terms of funding the insurance fund right now, that's where we're running into disagreements between the insurance council and the realtors regarding how we're going to fund it. But I think that we are close to an agreement very soon. What we're hoping for is that when this insurance relief fund were to come into the market, people wouldn't have to buy off-market insurance, because off-market insurance is the one that provides 100% coverage that is required by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. What we are hoping to look at is see whether or not an individual or policy could be written for part of the full coverage, maybe 80%, and the insurance relief fund could cover the other 20%. That still has to go through our federal government on whether or not we can do that as well. So in terms of the special session, I know that many people have asked for it. However, a special session wouldn't solve the problem unless we have a full bill that everyone agrees on to move forward. Otherwise, we can gavel in a special session and have no bill and just sit and wait for a bill, which is what everyone's sort of doing right now. I also will say that our consumer protection and commerce chair is vacant right now because of the death of Mark Nakashima, who would have heard the bill.
Yeah, one quick one.
Just a quick follow-up. So just one quick thing on the Hurricane Relief Fund. My understanding, for anybody to actually apply for that, there's a list of things you have to, when you apply, that you have to write down, and it has to be applicable to your situation. My understanding is that's going to apply to a very limited few people, in addition to the fact that it's only covering for hurricane issues, the increase in hurricane insurance. condo associations are seeing incredible increases overall for their building insurance due to deferred maintenance and other issues, but it's all kind of being mixed into the same discussion. And unfortunately, it can't be. It needs to be compartmentalized, and that's not being addressed. And that's one of the most important things that this legislature in 2025 needs to address. Mismanagement of condo associations throughout Hawaii with deferred maintenance. And because of that, Hawaii insurance is much higher for condo associations than it is even in Florida, where there's extensive damage due to hurricanes. So that needs to be addressed. If you could please look at that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true.
Okay, anything else for Representative? I don't see anything. Thank you very much.
Wait, I have my hand up. Sir, I have my hand up.
I didn't see your hand.
I have my hand. I had my hand up. Somebody took it off. Yeah, just one
ahead,
second.
go ahead.
Yeah, Representative Tam, Adrian, thank you so much for everything you do. I just wanted to make sure that you had seen my email regarding possible legislation. I sent it today to you. I just wanted to know that you've
I got
received
your
it.
email. I haven't
Okay.
responded to it yet. I'm still
Okay.
looking into it. I know it's about common law marriage and marijuana.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I don't expect you to have a conversation now. Just thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for contacting.
I don't see anything else. Thank you for being with us tonight. Next, Governor's Representative. Oh, welcome.
Thank you. I'm expecting a gift. Does that mean there's no meeting in December or there isn't? Okay. Oh, there's not. Okay, well, thank you very much. The main issues that I've communicated back to the governor's office on behalf of this board were in fact related to condo insurance in the crisis and also public safety concerns related to correctional capacity and population growth. And I'm happy to hear there's some movement perhaps toward legislation in that regard. The other big news, of course, well, first of all, let me just say a bit more about the insurance because this is a big deal at the ledge. It follows on what we hope will be the global settlement coming out of Lahaina. There are still insurance companies on the mainland that are arguing that global settlement of subrogation claims, but the net effect is it all rolls down and we have these massive insurance hikes. And I accept that affects 93% of the population. And so the overriding concern of this administration is affordability. And it will continue to be that going into the next legislative session. And that affects sewer bills, it affects mortgage costs and insurance costs and energy bills and everything. And so there is actually, now we have a new reality with the new federal administration coming into place in January as well, and call the governor for unity so that we can try and move ahead. I guess the good news in some of this is that we have last year put in place what will become the largest tax cut in Hawaiian history. It gets some money back into the hands of ratepayers over a period of time. That doesn't obviously provide relief on all fronts, but it seems that at least how things are looking in these early days, that it's not going to lead to a deficit either. And so that's sort of the joint commitment, is to continue to build housing, to address a multitude of concerns, and to keep affordability at the forefront. So that's my general report, but I'm happy to offer answers if I can to more specific questions that you have.
Members of the audience, do you have questions for the mayor's or the governor's representative? I see Laura Ruby has her hand up again. Laura? She's, are you muted?
Somebody's been turning it on and off on my account. I do not have anything to say. Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yvonne, we'll be in recess in December. So thank you for being here. And we do have a legislative committee. Ken Jacob over there. I know the governor is going to come up with a package prior to the legislature. If we could ask you to work with him on the package.
Yeah.
So
Would have been my last point, is any policy recommendations coming from this board for the next session, I should probably take them forward now.
okay, well, thank you very much. Happy holidays. Next, we have Rick Agate.
I was just going to give up my time to the next presentation because that's really interesting and will be long, but you did ask me a specific question about the 3 legacy events and what were their value. The 3 legacy events are the Aloha Festivals, Ho'olauea, which has been around since 1946, which is longer than most of us, and is a celebration of Hawaiian culture. I think very valuable to the community and to Waikiki. Next is the Pan-Pacific Matsuri Ho'olauea, and that is a celebration of Japanese culture, which of course is a major part of our population, but also a major part of our visitor industry. And the third is the Spam Jam Block Party, and that too, I would have to say, is a celebration of local culture. I mean, it came about because of the affinity for our local community with Spam. I personally don't see it, but it is very much a part of our local community. So that's the report I was requested to give. And
Audience members, any quick questions for Rick? Seeing none.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay.
I have a question, sir. I had a question.
Rick, we
Two
had a
quick
quick
questions.
question. Go ahead.
Very quick, very quick. Can
You
you
live
hear
in
me okay?
Waikiki?
Yes, yes, Rick, I would just like you to investigate what's going on in Kalaimoku Street because there's abandoned lots and closed buildings and derelict housing that's there. What's going on there? Second of all, will you advocate against the Army Corps of Engineers putting up these huge monster concrete walls along the side of the Alawai Canal? Will you please advocate for that? You don't have to answer either one of them, but it's in your bonnet now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have the presentation we've been waiting for all evening. Trevor and Prosecutor Steve Alm, who has been sitting here very patiently with us all night. Trevor, can I start with Steve?
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd echo John's comments about OCCC. I was there today, and it is so crowded. They've got some cells with 4 people in it. So it's just going to get more expensive the longer we wait to do it. I have talked to the Tommy Johnson, the director, and the jail they're planning is going to be set up so that wings can close if we are ever successful in reducing the number of people. So it's personnel that's going to cost the most. A couple of good things I'd like to report on that. I really like the warden there. He's from Oregon. He had 22 years there and retired from there and is here now. And the woman who's the deputy director of corrections is from Wisconsin with a similar background. So I'm really happy about that. Crime just, goes up and down a little bit. at different times. Overall, the numbers are really good. I think it's good to look at a big picture. So if you look at 2 years, I think just looking at a few of the things, robbery is down. If they look 2 years before Safe and Sound started and then the 2 years since it did start, and robberies are down 19%, burglary down 30%, auto theft down 21%, breaking into cars is down 38%. So overall, I think the numbers are good. Your neighborhood may not be exactly in the same situation, but I think the police are doing a really good job. When we talk about Safe and Sound, the Waikiki Business Improvement District, with their efforts, and I'll let Trevor talk about them, that you couldn't ask for a better sound kind of a component. Having the Aloha ambassadors, getting people together, it has been huge. And Mr. Kosasa's donation to help pay for Katie Kahanui, who's a really good person, as the coordinator, I think is really good news. A couple of other programs that we're working on. I'm part of a group trying to do what's called jail diversion. The idea is people that are seriously mentally ill that come into the criminal justice system, they're trying to divert them out of the court system and give them long-term treatment with the Department of Health. The second one is SUDAFAST, which stands for Substance Use Disorder Assessment Fast. When homeless folks who are sleeping on the street get arrested, I think virtually all of them have a mental health and or drug problem. So we're trying to get them out of jail into residential treatment, because until they deal with the behavioral health issues, they're never going to be successful. So I applaud the mayor, I applaud the governor for all these housing efforts, but for the folks with the behavioral health issues, you've got to take care of that, or they're never going to succeed in housing. And so if it's done at the same time, or you do the treatment first, I think the combination of it is good. But things like Safe and Sound only work because everybody works together. Members of the community identify problems. If they spot somebody who's got a geographic restriction on them and they tell a police department, we can try to get the wheels rolling to get them arrested. But we couldn't have a better partner in this than the Waikiki Business Improvement District. I think Trevor's doing a great job. Katie's doing a great job. It's a real good partnership. So I'm really happy. You bet.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Prosecutor Allman. My name is Trevor Abruzzo, President, Executive Director of the Waikiki Business Improvement District. And I just want to kind of back up a bit on who is part of Safe and Sound. And I think number one, it's the residents, right? You know, we get emails and calls all the time about people in the community that are either struggling from mental illness, maybe they're causing the most trouble in your neighborhood, and you know they're getting arrested consistently. And then second, it's you got first the residents, and then you have the police department, right? The police are the boots on the ground. They're the ones making the arrests, and they provide data as well on who those people are being arrested. Then you have Prosecutor Allman and his team. And then in year two, we kind of brought this social service piece to it on that mental illness. So we see the crime stats here, and Prosecutor Allman talked about those, but we're seeing that drastic reduction in year two in over 2 years. But I think the other thing we wanted to talk about, I think this is working again. Could you just go to the next slide? But within the Waikiki Business Improvement District, we have our Aloha Ambassador program that are able to identify individuals. And we've also been, tracking homelessness in Waikiki. And one of the things that we started in this year in Waikiki is the overnight security program. And we received a grant from the mayor's office and the managing director's office to have 3 Aloha ambassadors overnight. So from 11 p.m. And when the park closes at midnight, Kuhio Beach Park, until 5:30 a.m. when that park opens up. And they don't just provide safety presence, they provide outreach too. So if people are sleeping in the park that are homeless, that are mentally ill, we get them the services they need. We hook them up with a caseworker. We could bring them to shelter. But we've seen a drastic reduction in homelessness since we launched that program. So you see, since we started Safe and Sound, so 2 years from September 2022, September 2024, Waikiki has seen a 27% reduction in homelessness, which I think is tremendous. We had 251 individuals at the start of Safe and Sound. We did a count with the University of Hawaii. They did a scientific count with the School of Urban Planning. Now we have 183. You know, the job is not done. And I think the great thing about Safe and Sound is this isn't a one-year grant and then, okay, we did a great job and then let's move on to the next. No, we're going to continue this program. We're going to continue working with Prosecutor Alm's office, with HPD, to see these results. So, you know, I think a big part of this last quarter that we've seen a 14% reduction in the last quarter since we started this overnight safety program with the outreach. So we saw 213 to now 183. So again, tremendous numbers. I think a lot of it has to do with people getting arrested for the troublemakers going away, but also too, those people getting into shelter, people getting into mental health assistance. And if we go to the next slide, we have some of those numbers here. And this is just for the last quarter that I talked about. So that 14% reduction, we had 11 interactions in the Waikiki district. 25 of those individuals, and I think that number's wrong. I think it's 115. I think the number I cut off there. It's 115 interactions with homeless individuals throughout quarter 4. 25 individuals got connected with a case manager. So consistent, almost daily touch points with that case manager. 21 people got transitioned into long-term or short-term shelter. So, and then 5 transitioned into respite centers or stabilization centers. So those respite centers are for the severely mentally ill, to get them stabilized, to get them some street medicine, and then to get them into services. But one of the things, and if we go to the next slide, that we want to focus on, you know, we want to continue our partnerships that we've built, you know, with HPD, with the prosecuting attorney's office, with the residents, expand our outreach and our community street medicine program. We need more doctors out there to assist us. We're going to try to partner with other community organizations. We partner with IHS currently, and they provide street medicine doctor. They provide outreach along with the WBID ambassadors, but we're looking at other organizations, other nonprofits to partner with. Expanding internship opportunities to get some of those UH and Hawaii Pacific students that want to have a career in medicine to come out and assist us. And then also there's something that we didn't touch on, but on the relocation side, and what can we do when someone comes here from the mainland, comes here internationally with the sole intention of being homeless, or they don't have a plan, right? And some people get down on their luck and say, oh, you know, I intended to get a job or I intended to get housing, but it's too expensive and I can't do it. You know, we want to be able to, from the WBID perspective, fund those people to go back to wherever they're from, you know, whether and to be received from a family member in that state or in that country. So we want to prioritize that in this year 3 to help get more people back home and with family that can help them, but also get them off the street in Waikiki. So, you know, I want to leave a lot of time for questions, but it's really want to thank, you know, the residents. I know Mr. John Dutzman's here and a lot of the neighborhood board members that reach out to us about the people that they see in the neighborhood that have these habitual crime offenses. But, you know, Prosecutor Almond's office really prioritizing this, and for us to have a line to their office to say, hey, you know, we're dealing with someone in the community. I think it's unprecedented, you know, in a lot of different communities, but the partnerships we have in Waikiki with HPD, with Prosecutor Alm, with IHS and with the residents, I think that's kind of the wheel that turns it. And we see these reductions in crime and homelessness, but the job's not done. Like I said, happy to answer any questions, but hopefully, you know, we could come back here in year 3 with even bigger numbers. So thanks so much.
John?
Thank you, Steve and Trevor. Very grateful. In my estimation, I try to track this stuff. Our troublemakers are down about 80%, in my opinion. And that's great news, and that's all of your hard work. Problem is, we still got 20%. Those 20% seem to be immune to this treatment. And the dose has to be changed or increased. One of the things, Stephen, that your program brings is this geographic restrictions. And I keep saying that is such a gift, because the average misdemeanor sentence is 2.6 days. Credit time served. We can get somebody out of Waikiki for 6 months. You're never going to get a misdemeanor sentence for 6 months. So it's amazing if we achieve that. The problem is there's a lot of like weird things that go on, but the most important, and my direct question is, we have people, one guy has been arrested 30 times during Safe and Sound. Has no function except getting arrested. And somehow or another, he has either the prosecutor or the judge or somebody hoodwinked that he lives here or he works here or whatever he does here, and he never gets a geographic restriction. And there are a handful of people that they're actually committing perjury. The public defender, in a very sneaky way, says, well, my client tells me he lives, works there and all that. But, it's very sketchy. They're lying in court. They don't live here. They don't work here. They have no function here except to cause trouble. And is there anything the community can do, or Trevor can do, or anybody can do to overcome that problem with those particular people?
Yeah, I think you've highlighted, a real problem, because from the beginning, we're trying not to kick people out of the neighborhood they live in. So we've made from the very beginning, whether it's in Chinatown 20 years ago or here or in Waikiki, if they live in an area, they work in an area, or they're receiving treatment in an area, we don't even ask for the geographic restriction. Now, we realize it's getting abused in some respects. So I think what we should do is, and you may have identified like who the top 5 of these folks are, and then either do some press on it, or I'll talk to our misdemeanor unit and find out just what excuse is being given, because it has to be a verified residence. It isn't that you're homeless and you're sleeping on the street in Waikiki. So I think maybe it's getting down to looking at those, like 5 worst specific people and see if we can get the right data and convince the judges to grant the geographic restriction. I think that's all we can do, because or at the same time, if they're at all amenable to the habitual property, or what was passed last time, habitual violent misdemeanor, that has proven very effective for some of these folks, because it's a felony with a mandatory year in jail. So off the top of your head, are the worst of those guys, are the kind of crimes they're committing property?
No, these are all what I would call low level, under the radar offenses: park closed, trespassing, drinking in public, and all that. Our champion of that has racked up 29 arrests, and all is safe and sound. And all of these guys have 300, 400, one has 520 career cases. So.
What we will do is, if we can identify the very worst of them, we don't typically do it, but we can use a trespass as part of habitual property event.
Right.
You don't want to do it too much, but for the people that are causing so many problems like that, I'd be willing to do that for some of those guys.
Okay.
And
So maybe-
use trespass.
Maybe Trevor, you guys work out a pipeline from me to Steve or whatever, yeah?
Yeah, and we're really excited. I know Prosecutor Alm just hired a new person in their office, Christine Denton, who we're really excited to work with. And I know she has legal experience. I'll let Prosecutor Alm talk about her, but she's going to be kind of that connection that we meet with on a consistent basis to talk about some of these people. But I don't know Christine's background that well.
Christine was a prosecutor years ago, and then for the last number of years, she was a vice president at Chaminade University. But she thought she'd like to spend the last several years of her career back at the place where she started. So she came back to the prosecutor's office, and she's been prosecuting domestic violence cases for the last year. But when I wanted to fill the senior counsel public affairs position, I thought she would be a real good fit. So she has started. We also hired, as part of the Sudafast program, to try to get the chronically homeless into residential treatment. It wasn't working with the Department of Health, so out of our own budget, we hired a certified substance abuse counselor. He works out of our office. He's the only person with 3 felonies working in our office, because he got clean 10 years ago. He was in Hope probation, and I supervised him in court. Well, now he works out of our office. He writes great evaluations. He's down at OCCC every day, interviewing 1 or 2 people to get them into treatment. So it's really effective now. We're trying to get funding through the legislature, but right now we're happy to pay for it because he's getting the job done.
One thing I just wanted to touch on, and yeah, Tim, I'd love to hear your question too, but one thing that we're trying to prioritize for our next fiscal year, we kind of do our years in July, and we're trying to budget for this at the WBID is, everyone knows our Aloha ambassadors, right? They have a bright smile, they're gonna help you with directions, but we don't train them to be sort of that scary security presence, right? Like, hey, we can't have that behavior here, right? And in Kuhio Beach Park, along Kalakaua, Kuhio, all parts of Waikiki, sometimes, and we heard from HPD today that they're understaffed and we don't have the beat cops that we used to, or the bike cops that we used to. But what can the community do to help supplement that? What could the WBID do to supplement that? And we've been trying to study other neighborhoods like Waikiki around the country, whether it's California, whether it's Florida, New York, and a lot of BIDs are bringing on this elevated level of ambassador or a security presence that maybe wears a different color shirt, maybe it's a white or a black polo. And we're actually seeing this downtown in Chinatown with Matt Levi Private Security, but we're going to try to replicate that, but have the BID run it where it's the nonprofit that is bringing on these, whether they're retired officers, whether they're off-duty officers, but they're an elevated level of safety presence that has aligned to HPD, that they can be that beat presence, right? They're not uniformed officers. They don't have arrest powers, but there needs to be some sort of presence there that, you know, a troublemaker that is, you know, a 40 arrest person in the last 2 years, that they are at that presence. So, something that we're trying to budget for, trying to hopefully partner with the city on to do that, just to help alleviate a lot of the shortages that HPD is seeing. So it's something we're going to prioritize. And then I think, again, is going to elevate the safety presence in Waikiki.
Tim?
Yeah, congratulations on reelection. And Trevor, thanks for your service. I concur with John. I work with John every single day. We have the same people down there causing all the problems, tying up HPD. They get a day in jail. They come back. They're causing problems. If we can just eliminate 5, 10 people, not a lot. We know who they are. I see them every single day. I talk to the major every single day. I talk to Rick, the mayor, almost every other day. Send him pictures. It's all documented. And here's one thing that's really got me concerned. I spoke with Sam Moku. I'm down there, Steve, every day. I know who's coming, who's going. Every day, there's new people, new mentally challenged people. You can see just how they walk when they're carrying their little bag and they're stumbling down Kalakaua. Potential problems. But John and me know there's 10 people. If we got rid of them with geographic restrictions, it would be a lot better. I appreciate everything. I can't believe it's been like 2 years since we had our press conference on Kalakaua. We've made tremendous strides. I told Blancharding this the other day. I go, when he came into office, it was a war zone down there. Next to the church on Ahua Avenue, everywhere. We've made tremendous strides, and thank you. But if we can just get over this little hump and get these people, these 10 people that are causing problems every single day. And I appreciate Trevor. Everything, Trevor does a great job. Fantastic. He's going to be on the Parks and Rec board. He's all over the place. So however we can support him, it makes life a lot better. Thank you.
Other questions from the audience? Any questions from the board based on the 2 testifiers? I see nothing. Just a quick thought. What was it, 4 years ago when you came to us the first time? I think we were in the Alawai clubhouse. We had no lights. We had no Wi-Fi. We had a couple chairs. And he sold us on the idea of safe and sound. And I think it's paid off. It's expanded. You told us it wouldn't be cheap. And you can talk to Trevor about the amount of money this costs the taxpayer as well as the industry. So once again, I'd like to thank you very much for bringing it to us. We took a giant step forward. It's a marathon and we'll continue. I hope we'll continue. You certainly have the support of 17 board members to continue on with your tasking here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I said if I get elected to this job to try to straighten out the prosecutor's office, I certainly wanted to bring this strategy to Waikiki. I said, we're going to have to be a little bit patient, though. We got to answer the ones who bring us. So we have to go back to Chinatown, Waipahu, and Ebeba Beach. But that was when we brought the weed part, the law enforcement part back. Then it was time to be working with you folks. And you're very organized. You've got a lot of people that really care about the community like this. So we're really happy to work with you and work with all the partners. So as was said, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We'll keep going after it. And we'll try to go after this small core group that's left and see if we can, get them arrested for the habitual property offense, which would be a felony and a year in jail. But that would give a chance, if they've got mental health or drug and alcohol problems, to try to solve those problems on felony probation as well. So thank you for inviting me to.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you in year 4. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have Bill 50. Chair Waters, are you there for Bill 50?
I am. May I proceed? Okay. Oh, before I start on Bill 50, I also want to extend a big mahalo to Steve Allum and his office, as well as Trevor Abarzua from the WBID for their hard work. I remember, like you, Tim, 2 years ago, we were on the street in Kalakaua Avenue, and they've been working really hard. But anyway, back to Bill 50. So it does a couple of things, right? But I want to clear up a few things too. First, I had this drafted by request of the Department of Transportation Services. Department of Transportation Services reached out. I was working with them over the last year to come up with this bill. We've had Corporation Counsel go through it a couple of times. But part of the problem was that we had 38 activities shut down Kalakaua Avenue. 38. So the idea was to try to put some, tap that down a bit. I also want to point out that there are 14 legacy events. 14 legacy events. A legacy event is an event that at a minimum has occurred 15 or more consecutive years. So those are all protected. We're not touching any of the legacy events. And I just want to go through them real quickly. It's the Honolulu Festival Parade, St. Patrick's Day Parade, the Spam Jam Block Party, the Visitor Industry Charity Walk, Troy Barboza Torch Run, Pan Pacific Ho'olaulea, Kamehameha Day Parade, the Pan Pacific Parade, Dick Evans Memorial Bike Race, the Aloha Festivals Waikiki Ho'olaulea, Aloha Festivals Parade, the Waikiki Holiday Parade, Toys for Tots Caravan, and the Honolulu Marathon. So those are all protected. Those are not going to go anywhere. Initially, we thought about capping legacy events, but the latest version of the bill does not cap legacy events, so that if an event has a minimum of 15 years going forward, they're protected as well. So we're not touching any of the legacy events, which amounts to 14. There's 11 legacy parades and 3 legacy street festivals, which I think Rick Eggett talked about. The other thing that we're not capping is First Amendment activities. First Amendment activities are protected and they are unlimited, right? We cannot limit that. So a First Amendment activity is an activity that constitutes an expressive activity in which individuals may participate without charge. Just as an example, Martin Luther King or the Pride Day. Again, those are unlimited. We cannot touch those. So in all, what the bill does is it basically limits down to 27 events. So as I mentioned before, 11 legacy parades, 3 legacy street festivals. And this is like the probably the most important part and what I'd love your feedback. We limit to an additional 3 non-legacy festivals. So there's a total of 6 street festivals. Yeah, those are the ones that are closed down from like 2 in the afternoon to 11 o'clock, closing down the street. And then the idea from Department of Transportation Services was 2 street festivals per trimester in the year. Yeah. Then there would be 6 non-legacy parades, and the mayor gets 4 waivers. So the mayor can add on 4 events in any category he wants, including street festivals. So that could pop it up to 10. So it is a total of 27. Of course, the 27 could increase if there are more First Amendment events. Yeah, because we can't touch those First Amendment events. We have to do it. It's a constitutional requirement. So that's basically what the bill does. And I think the big part is what I'd like to hear back from you folks is, do you want to stay with the cap of 6 street festivals, 2 per trimester, or do you want to increase that? Yeah, that's what the bill does, and I'm open to comments, questions, and feedback.
Board members, I have to tell you that I put this on the agenda so we can consider it and take a vote, but the Office of Information Practices decision, I was just notified, is we cannot take a vote on this in the format it's in tonight. It was too late to change the format. I'll take comments from Tim Gary.
Yeah, good evening, Chair Waters. I brought this up at a council meeting and committee meetings on this bill. Where is it written that every single parade on this island has to be in Waikiki? How did this even come about? Everything's got to be on Kalakaua. We have so many other opportunities. We can have parades in Kapolei, Waiwa, Kailua. Why does everything have to be on Kalakaua, King Street, Chinatown? I don't understand why everything in Waikiki. Nobody can answer that. There's no historical thing about it. It's just the way everybody go, okay, you want a parade? Have it in Waikiki. Let's, like I said at the council meeting, let's share the joy. Share the joy with the rest of the island. I'm sure some of you people would love to go out to Kapolei and see a beautiful parade, or Waiwa, or Kailua. What the heck does everything have to be on Kalakaua? Thank you.
Well, Tim, I probably because Kalakaua Avenue is so beautiful, but the idea behind the cap is to encourage parades and street festivals in other communities. I do want to note that there's a Kamiki Christmas parade and a Hawaii Kai Christmas parade, so there are parades in other areas. But really, the idea is to encourage parades and festivals in other communities as well as Waikiki.
I have a question from Jacob Winsick. Jacob, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you, Council Chair Waters, for making the time, being able to come and speak to us about Bill 50 as it's worked its way through the council. I think it's directionally moving in the right idea, and I'm appreciative of the effort to try to mitigate some of the parades that do take a toll here in Waikiki. However, looking at some news reports that came out this past week, there are a couple elements of the bill that do seem to worry me, particularly. It looks like there's going to be additional restrictions on the sale and consumption of alcohol, unrelated to the parades. I was hoping you could comment on that. And I would just like to register my concern that while other localities around the country have been loosening up their rules to allow the greater consumption, responsible consumption of alcohol during these events, we seem to be moving in the opposite direction. Thank you.
No, thank you, Jacob, and I appreciate you coming down and participating at the council hearings. So initially, what the Department of Transportation Services wanted was a beer garden at these festivals. But after speaking with the chair of the Transportation Committee, who worked it out with the director of the Department of Transportation Services, we're going to take that out. So there won't be a beer garden. Alcohol will be allowed to be served at the various booths throughout the entire street festival.
That'll be awesome. I'm really glad to hear that update, Chair. I think that restriction would have made it less attractive to move parades or have different events in other places of the island.
Thank you, Jacob.
Greg, you had your hand up first.
Thank you, Chair. So I have I think I have two questions. One question is regarding the original intent of this bill. We had heard, at least I remember hearing, that there was a concern regarding emergency vehicles being able to access Kalakaua Avenue. If there was an emergency, that was part of the concern. The other concern, obviously, was closing the street for so long. The residents, the people flying in. I mean, if you're flying in from the mainland to visit Waikiki and your hotel is the Moana Surfrider, and you've got to navigate or wherever it is, like close to where the festival is, and you've got to navigate down the street, you're going to be delayed getting to your destination. There's going to be some delays with traffic. The traffic can be quite extensive. I think the traffic's going to be more extensive going forward with the Kuhio Avenue bus lane. So that's going to be another consideration. So with that said, what I'm trying to understand is where is this going? Because it seems like it's being reduced slightly. The mayor seems to have some ability to add some additional ones, but reducing by 6 doesn't seem to be addressing the original concerns. And then if alcohol is going to be allowed to be served, that was a concern that was brought up also. So, it seems like just reducing 6 doesn't seem to be addressing the real issues that were the reason this bill, at least I thought, was being proposed.
Well, actually, if you just look at the numbers from 2023 and then what the bill proposes, it reduces by about 11. But it's all of the above. And by the way, Greg, I appreciate your comments and your participation at the council meetings as well. But it's all of the above. I mean, we're getting complaints about the street closures for the festivals. I haven't really received many complaints about the parades. It really was the street festivals. Yeah, the closure from 2 p.m. until 11 p.m. That was really the concern. And that's the meat of this bill. It would limit it to 6. 6 per year, 3 legacy, 3 non-legacy, and 2 per trimester.
Sarah had a question.
Could I do one quick follow-up and then I'll give it to Sir? So regarding that, I led a permitted interactive group for this very issue, and I did go out during a festival actually. So I walked the streets during a festival and spoke to residents, businesses, and different people, and it was a split result. Some people loved it, some people didn't. Businesses were saying that it brought in business to their establishment. Others were saying it limited it. But the one thing that is clear from when we look at the whole issue, reducing it by just 6 and mentioning parades is not a concern when the parades actually close down the side streets. So they're staging for the parades. It's the same thing. You're closing the street down, and regardless of if it's a night festival or if it's an all afternoon parade that lasts for quite a while usually for the staging, they're both relevant to the concern. So I just want to add that. I know parades seem to be separated out, and I think we should have parades, but I think we should be, in all honesty, if we're going to be addressing this the way you're indicating, and others have raised concerns, we should be addressing it properly. And I just think that it's convoluted, and just reducing it by 6, or when you're saying 11, you're saying 6 and then 11. I don't know. That's from an outdated number. It's a concern to me that it's not really being looked at properly. So that's just my take on it. It's been back and forth, and I'll let Sarah go next so she can speak. Or unless you want to respond to that.
Well, it's interesting though, the ordinance has been amended a number of times, which I think makes the ordinance hard to follow. So I'm trying to clean it up to make it as easy as possible to understand. But again, I'm happy to work with you. If you look at all the numbers, I think that's where I need your feedback. So right now there's 14 legacy events. 11 of them are legacy parades, and 3 of them are legacy street festivals. So that's where the 14 comes from. Those again are legacy. Those are the ones that have been around for 15 plus years. We're not touching those. But you would limit the amount of street festivals to 6. That means because there's 3 legacy street festivals, there would be 3 non-legacy street festivals. So you'd add on 3. So I'm curious, does the community want more or is happy with 6? Right? That's question number 1. As far as parades are concerned, there's 11 legacy parades. Again, those aren't going to be touched, but the bill will do a limit to another 6 non-legacy parades. So again, does the community want more parades or happy with adding an additional 6 onto the 11 that are already there? And then traditionally, the mayor, I believe, has had 6 waivers. Yeah, and other mayors have granted these pretty routinely. We're limiting it down to 4. So the mayor would only get 4. And I can't really speak to what Mayor Blangiardi's policy is on whether or not they routinely grant those or not. And I can get back to you. And perhaps that's a question to ask of Director Morton when he comes to testify at the next hearing on this. But again, I also want to point out that First Amendment events, whether it's a parade, street festival, or whatnot, those can be unlimited. Those are unlimited.
Sarah.
Hello, sir. Actually, what I wanted to mention earlier when you first spoke was, I know that I'm with Jeff Merritz and Daniel Jacob, that we really try to encourage people to be here in person instead of WebEx. So I just wanted to just give that reminder out. But I did want to address Tim Gary. I'm with him 100%. We need to move these events out of Waikiki. If the streets are blocked and it's a health issue, why is it not a health issue when it's a legacy event? Suddenly, it doesn't matter if the ambulances get through because it's a legacy event. And the thing is too, legacy events, we make the rules. These are our streets. We don't have to be they can stay here forever, because if you look at a lot of these legacy events, you decided there's no cap. So currently so that means these events, eventually we could balloon to 30, 32, 33, the legacy events won't end. We can keep piling them on. 27 event closures, that's at least 2 a month. And I'm not quite sure why the mayor gets 4 passes when all the other citizens have to go through a lottery system. And my biggest concern is that with this lottery system, if you reduce it to 6, we already have 3 legacy. That means there's only 3 times that any citizen in our community can go to the lottery system and try to hold a street festival. And what's great about these street festivals is that it's the one time that local mom and pop can actually buy a space to sell their wares in Waikiki. I mean, they've all been kicked out. Waikiki is too expensive for them. And we've heard testimony before about one woman, she makes all month long, she makes things to sell. And that one day that she's here in Waikiki, because we do have the tourists, we do have the money, she's able to support herself and her son. I mean, that's huge. And we're going to reduce it to 3. So I want to know, first of all, why you removed the cap. Second of all, why are we only picking on festivals? And because festivals too, they only block 2 hotels versus the parade blocks multiple residences and no hotels. The parade itself, the festival does not block any residences because there's side streets access. So, and also, I don't understand why Roger Morton, he's the Department of Transportation. Why isn't he setting rules? Because when you do in the lottery system, the department doesn't tell you you can only have your festival from here to here. They just yeah, you tell us where you want to have your festival from here to what street. And they can set, hey, you know what? Your festival can only start at this time. Why don't we make it shorter? So I'm not really sure why the Department of Transportation isn't setting rules and alleviating some of these problems. Mahalo.
No, I appreciate your comments and thank you also for participating in the council meetings on this. But just to clarify, are you advocating for more street festivals or less?
I am with Tim Gary. Let's get them out, share the wealth, because you're right. It is a safety issue. In other areas, they don't have to block the whole street. In other areas, the ambulances and so forth can still access homes. They can still access residences. For example, Chinatown, they want our events because they have 4th Street area where it's just already blocked off. It's only pedestrian. So it's a perfect place to have events. And also in that area, the businesses are closed. There aren't a lot of people that live down there. So it's a great place to have a parade.
And you bring up a good point. Perhaps we can limit the time that they can close the street for the street festival. I'm curious what your feedback is on what times we should be looking at. I know there's a lot to do at setting up and breaking down. That's partly why it lasts so long, but I'm open and I don't know if we need to legislate the time and perhaps, like you said, the Department of Transportation Services maybe could do it by rulemaking.
Okay, thank you. I may be somewhat in the minority on this issue, but I've never been a big fan of this bill. And I agree with some of the points made by Greg and Sarah. And I actually thought Greg did a pretty good job on that permitted interaction group. And unfortunately, our agenda got so delayed for so many months that we never got a chance to get the presentation from him before the bill started getting heard at the city council. And I think that what his evidence showed is sort of what my anecdotal sense is that residents are somewhat split on this thing. And I know that Catherine has expressed a lot of concerns about these things. I know the chair doesn't care for it. And maybe many of you don't like them. And I certainly don't disrespect that. But I also know I bumped into Denise one night. And when I went down there, I kind of like them. And we're like, yeah, this is fun. And I think that for every resident who doesn't like it, there may be somebody who does. And my concern is that I never thought that this bill was being put forward in a really upfront, honest way. Let's face it, the original impetus for this bill was Rick Eggett and the Waikiki Improvement Association. I see this as a battle of big business versus small business. And I think that the residents are being used as a front for this thing. And I think the pretense that's being put forward is, oh, the residents don't like it, everybody hates the traffic or whatever. The truth is, it's the Waikiki Improvement Association and the big businesses. They don't want you buying a $15 plate lunch from one of these guys. They want you buying a $100 steak in one of the hotels. And so their beef is that people aren't going into the hotels because they enjoy these street festivals and they're buying the cheaper food. I think it's the same issue that we've had years ago with street performers. They want you spending your time inside Ferragamo instead of hanging out watching some guy juggle balls. And I mean, to me, this is nothing but big business trying to squeeze out little people, and they're using the residents as an excuse. And I understand, I know Tim is, and a lot of guys have strong feelings, and I don't disrespect that at all. I think there are people who really do feel that way, but I don't think it's correct to say that most or all of the Waikiki residents are against these things. I think that what Greg found, which is my sense, is that it's probably kind of a mixed range of opinions. And so I just wish that the issue would be discussed in an honest way, and that the residents not be put forward as kind of the shill in the front for basically big business trying to squeeze out the little guy. So if I had a vote, I would vote against the bill personally. I don't like the idea, but I realize that a lot of people do, and I certainly respect that too.
Well, if you think about it, Lou, and you and I have had these conversations numerous times on this bill, just look at the difference between the chair and the vice chair, right? The two of you disagree on this. That's why it's great to have this discussion at the neighborhood board. And by the way, the Department of Transportation Services drafted the bill, and then Corporation Council drafted a bill. And I was trying to bring the two together. We've actually been working on this for a long time because Corp Council and DTS couldn't agree. But where it is now, I think I've gotten consensus, at least from the administration side. But that's why I'm bringing it to you folks. And we've talked about this for months now. But I'd love to hear from the board as a whole or individually and take, just a roll call to see where the board's at. You folks represent Waikiki, right? As do I. But, do you want more or less of these street festivals? And by the way, my understanding was there's one or two event organizers who would solicit nonprofits to put their name on the event, and then the event organizers makes a lot of profit and charges each of the vendors. So the event organizers are making money. This is according to Department of Transportation Services, right? It's a money-making venture for the organizer, I guess, as well as the vendors. But my understanding is the vendors pay the organizer to be allowed to have their booth there.
Catherine?
Thank you, Chair. Lou, my concern was with these street festivals is that there was one particular vendor who was somehow through lottery at one time got 14 events. Okay. I may not agree with you as far as how often we should have a street event. Living as close as I do to Kalakaua, and I don't know what part of Waikiki you live in. To see the influx of traffic and, to be honest, a lot of the unsavory elements and language that occur when some of these street festivals happen, it tends to make you not want them in your neighborhood. I'm not saying stop the street festivals. I'm just saying maybe we don't need as many street festivals. That's my point. And to be fair, the point that Chair Waters made about certain people getting nonprofits involved so that they can use their name. I've had an issue, and I've asked repeatedly one particular gentleman to please provide the donations that he is supposed to make to the nonprofits. Not once has he provided any documentation that he's ever donated a penny. That's what I object to.
Chair, did you want to respond to that? Or I've got another speaker.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was a question as opposed to more of a comment.
I just wanted to say that I've never been a huge fan of all the festivals and the parades, but this year, as your current Mrs. Hawaii, I am thoroughly enjoying these parades. So let's not vote on this until June when my reign is up.
How do I answer that?
Hey, Chair Finley.
Yes, sir.
So this bill 50 was going to be heard by the Transportation Committee later this month. And if approved, it would then go to full council on December 7th. So if you folks want me to hold off on this till next year, I can. I'd love to hear from Greg's permitted interaction group as well. I think that might be a good idea. But I'll defer to you folks. If you want me to wait until next year, we can. Because we're not going to have committee hearings in December.
You put me in a very difficult position here.
I know, I'm sorry.
If you read the letter from OIP that says I can't take votes at this time, just judging the audience, it looks like we got about a 50-50 on this. I can't give you advice based on what we've been threatened with. I wish I could. I would certainly like to take a vote on this, but we had a very heavy duty meeting at NCO the other night, and we were told very bluntly, do not take actions until the NCO has had a chance to hopefully submit legislation in getting the neighborhood boards exempted from parts of HRS 92. So in answer, I can't answer.
Can I ask Anson a question? Anson, are we allowed to just delay this? Is that something?
You guys can just postpone this to the next agenda.
So split.
I'd like to hear Greg's report.
What I would like to do, go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was just going to say, I had given the report, but there was a follow-up. So you had asked me to go back and do something. And quite frankly, it's been such a long time. There was something you had asked and we never got back to it. It was never put back on agenda. So a suggestion would be, I think I can motion to reestablish or maybe form another permitted and interactive group, maybe motion to form a permitted interactive group to go back to this issue. Possibly we could do that tonight and then revisit. But even if we don't do that, what I would just suggest is there's some other solutions too. I think there's possibly having some of these festivals in another location that's not the street. I just wanted to mention that. Other than that, going forward, I think, you can't make a decision on what to tell Council Chair Waters this evening, but maybe motion for a permitted and interactive group to reestablish that and then come back with a solution.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to that, but that's not on the agenda. My question is, it's on the agenda. I thought the whole thing is you can't take a vote unless it's on the agenda. It's on the agenda. So what's wrong with the agenda and why can't you vote if it's here on the agenda? So something doesn't make any sense.
Was it the wording, Chair Finley, of the way it's written? Because I don't see a major issue just to make a decision just to postpone the bill. Because we're not voting on what we're going to do. We're just voting to defer it.
Based on what I've heard, I will put this on the January agenda for action, if we're allowed to take action. And Chair, I wish we could have taken a vote tonight, tell you where we stand, but as all good lawyers will tell you, never object to what your lawyer tells you. So basically in January, this will be back on the agenda. I'm going to ask the NCO to put language in so we can discuss and vote on this in January. Will that work for the city council, sir?
Yes, yes, thank you, Chair. I apologize for putting you in that awkward position, but in an abundance of caution, why don't we do this? I'm gonna ask the Chair of the Transportation Committee to have a hearing on Bill 50, but not pass it out. Yeah, that way it'll be automatically postponed to January, so we get another bite at the apple in January. And in the meantime, this board can discuss the street festivals. And you know what, I'll write up like a one pager for and send it to each of your members, Chair Finley, so that they can better understand what exactly the bill does.
Following that meeting, sir, can you have your staff send a updated copy of the bill with its CDs and whatever's so that it can be on our website for our board members to review before the meeting?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. Thank you. And thank you for the discussion and thank you for putting it on the agenda today.
Sarah, did you have?
Sorry, just to be clear, we've been asking Waters to come here with this bill. And eventually, actually, Greg's the one who put it on the agenda for today, forcing the issue, just so it's clear that we've been asking Tommy Waters to come for a while. So,
Well, we've been talking about this prior to you being on the board, Sarah. Literally for months and months, if not years, actually.
Okay. Time to move on. Thank you, Chair Waters. Appreciate everything.
My pleasure.
And have a happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
And I'm up against the wall on the next item on the agenda, Sunshine Law. I don't know if we can, I know we can't vote on it, but Greg, you asked me to put this on the agenda. Would you like to make some statements on it?
Yeah, just because there's limited time. I put this on agenda more for the public. We lost most of them now, so the residents that are left here. I put it on agenda so that the public could provide some input to what they feel. And I know it's difficult because when we're discussing things here, everybody that speaks on the Sunshine Law, that some of them don't really understand some of the nuances of it also. So that's what this board is trying to understand. So it's a little bit of a complicated law, but once you get the nuances of it, you understand what you can and cannot discuss. So it's been around for many, many years. We have training on it. We have to certify that we've taken the training. So I think if the public has any inputs to that this evening, whether they feel they want the Sunshine Law to remain so that there's, the reason Sunshine Law is there so that there's no backdoor dealings. I'm going to give that to the public to speak. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to say.
We've got just a couple minutes left. Secretary, have you received any corrections for the,
Well, Chair, could we see if there's anyone there's the few people, is there anyone in the public that wants to speak
excuse me,
at all on the Sunshine Law?
I didn't see any hands.
Okay.
So on the October 8th minutes, have we got any corrections that came into you? Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, my last name's Merz, M-E-R-Z, not M-U.
Can you make that correction? Any other corrections, October agenda? Yes,
Anson, you got my correction. My last name is also misspelled.
okay, great. By a show of hands, all in favor of accepting the October 8th, 2024 minutes? Okay. Yeah, make a motion to accept the October 8th. Secretary. I'll second. Okay. Can we do a show? Any objections to the October 8th? Seeing none, October 8th is good. Any corrections for August 14th? No. Go ahead.
Chair Finley, I'm sorry, I didn't have an opportunity. I've had a lot going on in the past month, month and a half. I did not have an opportunity. I'm going to let you guys vote to approve it, but I'm going to just abstain from the 2 meeting minutes just because I know there was a couple concerns I had, and I'm just going to abstain this evening so you guys can vote.
Thank you. So the motion's on the floor to accept August 14th, 2024. Second. Yeah. We have 1 abstention. Any other noes or abstentions? Just the 1 abstention. Motion passes. And same thing, September 10th, motion to accept the draft. Anybody opposed? And you're abstaining. Okay, so, and again, minutes can be corrected after they're accepted. So if anyone has a correction that they missed tonight, we're ready for it. Subdistrict 1, Jeff, anything going on there? Okay. Jillian, Subdistrict 2, anything happening there? Okay, Catherine, Subdistrict 3.
Again, thank you, all of you, for all your service and happy holidays.
Okay, help us put away the tables and chairs. Meeting is adjourned. Mahalo.